Good afternoon. May I ask that you move to your seats, please? Thank you. Governors, alternate governors, temporary alternate governors, President Kanda, a very good afternoon. My name is Bruno Carrasco, and I am the Secretary of the Asian Development Bank. Thank you for taking the time to participate in today's business session of the 59th Annual Meeting of the Board of Governors. I confirm that we have a quorum for the meeting. I now request the Chair of the Board of Governors, the Governor for Uzbekistan, the Honorable Jamshid Kojaev, to start the business session. Mr. Chair, please.
Distinguished Governors, President Kanda, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it's my great pleasure to welcome you to the business session of the 59th Annual Meeting of the Board of the Governors of the Asian Development Bank here in Samarkand. For centuries, Samarkand stood at the crossroad of the civilizations, commerce, and ideas. Today, it once again serves as a meeting place for partnership, dialogue, and a shared progress. On behalf of Republic of Uzbekistan, I warmly welcome all delegations. I now call this Governors' business session to order. Let us first take up paragraph 3 of the Procedures Committee report. The provisions relating to the conduct of the meeting as set out in document BG 59-3 are similar to those adopted in previous years. I take it that this document is acceptable and that we may approve it as recommended by the Procedures Committee. In paragraph 1 of its report, the Procedures Committee has recommended the approval of the agenda as shown in the document BG 59-1. In paragraph 2, the Procedures Committee has recommended that the provisional schedule as shown in a document BG 59-2 be approved with such changes as the Chair may announce during the course of the meeting. You will note that the schedule provides that we finish all the items on the agenda today. You will note that the schedule provides the United States has previously opposed, as a member of the Procedures Committee, the inclusion of the item 9 on the report of the Board of the Governors on gender diversity at the ADB Board of Directors in the proposed agenda, and the same item as it appears in the provisional schedule. If there is no objections, I declare that the agenda and provisional schedule are approved. Let us now take up the committee's recommendation on the agenda item and start with the agenda item 1, 2, 3, 4, and 9 for our notation, which were approved by the Board of Directors. Item 1 is the ADB Annual Report for 2025 as contained in the document BG 59-4. The United States has previously abstained at the Board of Directors on the proposal to submit the annual report to the Board of Governors. Item 2 is the update to the rules and regulations as contained in the document BG 59-5. Item 3 is the budget for 2026, which encompasses the budgets for ADB and the ADB Institute as shown in the document BG 59-6. Item 4 is the status of the financial resources as contained in the document BG 59-7. Item 9 is a report to the Board of the Governors on the gender diversity at the ADB Board of Directors as contained in the document BG 59-10. The United States has previously opposed at the Board of Directors the proposal to submit to the Board of Governors the report to the Board of the Governors on the gender diversity at the ADB Board of Directors. As recommended by the Procedures Committee, I propose that the board takes note of these 5 items accordingly. Turning to the item 5, the financial statements, management's report on the internal control over the financial reporting, and independent auditor's report are contained in the document BG 59-8. Item 6 is the allocation of a net income contained in the document BG 59-9. The committee recommends approval of these documents. In the absence of the objections, I declare these 2 items approved and the draft resolution as submitted by the Procedures Committee are adopted. Turning to agenda item 9. The committee recommends that the Procedures Committee for 2026-2027 be composed of the governors for Australia, the People's Republic of China, Denmark, Fiji, Japan, Luxembourg, Malaysia, Pakistan, Papua New Guinea, Switzerland, Turkmenistan, and the United States, with the governor for Japan appointed as a chair of the committee. If there is no objection, I declare this recommendation approved. I congratulate the new appointed members of the Procedures Committee. Moving on to agenda item 8. The committee has recommended that the governor for Japan be elected chair of the Board of the Governors for 2026-2027, and that the governors for Germany and Timor-Leste be elected vice chairs to hold office from the end of this annual meeting to the end of the 60th annual meeting of the Board of the Governors. If there is no objections, I declare this agenda item approved. I congratulate the governor for Japan on her election as the chair of the Board of the Governors for 2026-2027. I also congratulate the governors for Germany and Timor-Leste on the election as a vice chair for the 2026-2027. At this point, allow me to say a few words as a chair of the Board of the Governors. Your Excellencies, distinguished governors, President Kanda, ladies and gentlemen, again it's my honor to welcome you to Samarkand, a city at the heart of the ancient Silk Road, where East and West, North and South have met for centuries. The spirit of connection and cooperation is exactly what we need today. The world is changing fast. Growth is slowing. Trade is under pressure. Conflicts are disrupting supply chains and rising costs for every economy in this room. At the same time, new technologies, above all, artificial intelligence, are creating opportunities that simply did not exist a decade ago. Countries that adapt quickly will benefit. Those that fall behind will find it harder to catch up. In this environment, the role of trusted multilateral institutions like ADB has never been more important. Uzbekistan is proud to chair this meeting and proud of our partnership with ADB built over 30 years. And you just have seen the numbers that are exceeding 15 billion in cumulative joint projects. And yesterday we signed a new country partnership program for 2026-2030 worth more than 12 billion. Our own results reflect what sustained reform can achieve. Our economy has grown from $59 to $147 billion. Poverty has fallen from nearly 35% to under 6%. And this year, for the first time, we were recognized as a moderately free economy by the Heritage Foundation, moving up 14 places in a single year. In 2025, ADB commitments to Uzbekistan reached a record high level of 1.4 billion, and in 2026, we want to grow more than that. We are streamlining procedures for mobilizing development finance, harmonizing project readiness and procurement frameworks, and expanding non-sovereign financing for commercially viable state-owned enterprise and private sector projects. To build on this progress, I wish to propose 6 initiatives for our partnership. Digital technologies and artificial intelligence. AI is reshaping every sector of the economy. We are building an AI and innovation hub in Uzbekistan, running over 200 AI projects across our economy and training for 5 million AI leaders. And we propose that ADB established a dedicated program to scale AI adoption in developing member countries. And we invite ADB to open the Regional Coordination Center for its Digital Highway for Asia. Initiative in Tashkent for landlocked countries, digital connectivity is as important as physical connectivity. Second, clean energy and a green corridor. The growth of the digital infrastructure is driving energy demand sharply higher. Only countries that can offer clean, affordable, and reliable power will attract the investment they need. Uzbekistan has already brought 5.6 gigawatts of solar and a wind capacity. We support Central Asia, Europe Green Energy Corridor and Pan-Asia Power Grid. We call on ADB and regional partners to move these projects forward without delay. Energy security, water security, and the climate resilience must be addressed together. Third, transport connectivity and digital customs. Global logistics problems are increasing costs for landlocked countries by up to 30%. The China-Kyrgyzstan-Uzbekistan railway, which is currently under construction, will reduce delivery times by 10 days and carry up to 15 million tons of goods per year. Uzbekistan and Central Asia are well positioned to become key hub linking China, India, South Asia, and other Asian economies with Europe. We propose under ADB's CAREC program creating a digital customs and logistic alliance to simplify border procedures, move documents online, and market trade on our region faster and cheaper. Fourth, critical minerals and value-added industry. Demand for critical minerals is expected to grow 6-fold by 2040, and Uzbekistan holds significant reserves of copper, tungsten, molybdenum, titanium, graphite, and vanadium. We are not simply extracting these minerals, we are building the capacity to process them locally and create high-value industries. And we propose that ADB expand its From Critical Minerals to Manufacture program with a focus on sustainable extraction, environmental standards, and stable supply chains within the region. Climate resilience and a green belt. Climate change is one of the most serious long-term risks facing Central Asia. Over the past 5 years, Uzbekistan has planted 200 million trees annually and created 2 million hectares of protected forests on the dried bed of the Aral Sea. We invite ADB and regional partners to join us in establishing a Central Asia Green Belt and shared program to restore ecosystems, reduce desertification, and protect the livelihoods of millions of people. Dear governors and colleagues, the messages behind all initiatives is the same. Central Asia must not face these challenges alone, and it does not have to. We clearly understand that the large-scale regional projects cannot be financed only through the traditional sovereign lending. Our priority is to mobilize the private capital through the public-private partnership, guarantees, blended finance, local currency instruments, and a stronger project preparation. Together with ADB, we want to turn regional projects into bankable investment packages with a clear financial models, properly allocated risk, transparent procurement, and measurable development results. What we need now is coordinated action between countries, between institutions, and between the public and private sectors to make this work at a scale, we propose the creation of innovative financing platform for the regional projects. Our cooperation with ADB will focus, of course, on the preparing bankable projects, accelerating implementation and disbursement, mobilizing private capital for regional development. Distinguished governors, the proposal on the table today can translate into the real results: jobs, cleaner energy, faster trade, healthier ecosystems for hundreds of millions of people across our region. And our country does not see connectivity only as infrastructure. We see it as a new economic architecture for the region. On that connects markets, energy system, data flows, industries, and a people. Together with ADB, we are ready to turn this architecture into the bankable projects, mobilize private capital, and deliver practical results for businesses and citizens across our region. I fully support the leadership of President Kanda and the work for ADB in making this possible. The Uzbekistan platform is open. The partnerships are in place. Now it's time to act. Thank you for your attention. Thank you. With your permission, we will now proceed with the management's report to the board of the governors, and I would like to call on the President of the Asian Development Bank to deliver the report. President Kanda, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair. Good afternoon, honorable governors, alternate governors. I'd like to begin by acknowledging this year's Chair of the Board of Governors, the Honorable Jamshid Kojaev. Let me also express my sincere gratitude to the government of Uzbekistan for welcoming us to Samarkand, a city that has stood at the crossroads of civilization for centuries, and today stands at the crossroads of our region's future. We do not meet in easy times. The conflict in the Middle East is sending serious shockwaves through the global economy. For Asia and the Pacific, the world's largest energy importing region, this is not a distant concern. It is already being felt in fuel costs, flight rates, and food prices. In some markets, fertilizer prices have surged significantly, threatening the food security of families already living close to the edge. The economic consequences for our region could be severe on growth, on prices, and on livelihood. Behind those numbers are real and painful choices for households, for farmers, and for governments managing constrained budgets. At the same time, trade fragmentation and shifting supply chains are reshaping global commerce. This is making cross-border cooperations harder, precisely when it is most needed. The countries with the least capacity to absorb shocks are bearing the heaviest burden. That is who we must protect, and that is what guides our decisions. ADB is an anchor of stability for developing member countries, maintaining macro-financing stability while deepening regional cooperation is not simply a strategic preference. At this juncture, it is essential. We are providing fast disbursing budget support to help governments stabilize their finances, while our trade and supply chain finance program is keeping critical imports flowing. This includes essential goods such as food, energy, and medicines, recognizing that the rapid surge in oil prices is severely affecting our most vulnerable populations. We are deactivating support for oil imports on an exceptional basis. We are acting with urgency because the people we serve can't afford delay. We are strengthening and expanding our crisis response toolkit, adding new instruments to ensure we can offer broader, more responsive support to our countries in times of crisis. At the same time, in a world of tightening resources, we must mobilize capital at scale. This means fully leveraging and integrating our public and private sector operations to deliver impact where it is needed most. The Asian Development Fund plays a critical role. enabling us to leverage donor contributions to respond to Asia and the Pacific's most urgent needs with targeted solutions. This has been a year defined by bold and transformational achievement for ADB, delivered amid rising global and regional challenges. Total commitment reached $29.3 billion, 20% more than in 2024, alongside $14.7 billion mobilized from partners. These operations are expected to generate more than 3.3 million jobs and benefit over 180 million people across the region. Private sector development is central to how ADB delivers impact at scale. The financing needs across our region far exceed public resources alone. Mobilized private investment is therefore essential to closing that gap. ADB is structurally well placed for this work. Our public and private sector operations sit under one roof with one legal entity and share a single balance sheet. Half of our public sector commitment in 2025 were designed specifically to unlock private investment, and we are using that integration with clear purpose. When disaster struck, including earthquakes in Afghanistan and Myanmar and floods in Sri Lanka, Thailand and Vietnam, ADB responded quickly to help communities recover and rebuild. We also strengthened our institutional foundations. A historic charter amendment removed our lending limitation, enabling a 50% increase in financing capacity without additional capital from shareholders. We upgraded our energy policy to enable support for nuclear energy and advanced a new approach for critical mineral manufacturing value chains. We have also updated our procurement approach to more strongly emphasize merit, strengthening our commitment to quality, sustainability, and value for money in our projects. At the same time, we are increasing our market engagement with suppliers across the region. Through the full mutual reliance framework with the World Bank, we are eliminating duplication and delivering more efficiency for our clients. Since 2023, we have increased our staff presence in the field by 16%. That proximity matters in ways that are difficult to quantify but easy to observe. In the quality of dialogue with governments, in our understanding of what communities need, and in the speed with which we can respond. The foundations are in place. The task now is to build further and to do so with greater ambition. Our most powerful lever remains the private sector. A strong private sector is essential to creating jobs. Job generates stability. Stability generates opportunity. That change doesn't happen by accident. It requires ADB to work so as one institution with public and private sector operations functioning in concert and make market-ready solutions reaching the frontier and underserved markets where the need is greatest. Working as one ADB also allows us to break down silos and develop innovative solutions to help address increasingly complex problems. This is particularly critical for middle-income and upper-middle-income countries, where traditional division between sectors, private and public spheres, are less obvious. As income rise and capacity strengthens, expectations of ADB's value addition also increase beyond simple finance. Amid these turbulent times, we must relentlessly promote agility and innovation as core value that sets ADB apart. We must also elevate our commitment to regional cooperation and integration, which sits at the very core of ADB's identity. Shifting trade patterns and geopolitical uncertainty make collective actions harder and more necessary. We will deepen sub-regional initiatives, strengthen cross-border platforms, and use ADB's convening role more deliberately. We will also leverage the leadership role of our upper middle-income countries in anchoring initiatives that benefit the region more broadly for energy security, public health, and nature-based solutions. That is why we have pledged up to $10 billion over the next 10 years towards supporting the ASEAN power grid. We have also launched the Regional Connectivity Fund for Energy to finance critical project prioritization. I also announced earlier the Pan-Asia Power Grid Initiative. It aims to mobilize $50 billion by 2035 to expand and modernize transmission networks, strengthen grid stability, and enable more clean energy to move across borders. This is another concrete example of how integrating public sector engagement with private sector investment will create tangible benefits on the ground. No single country can build resilience alone. That is a lesson this moment is teaching us. For fragile and conflict-affected situations and small island developing states, the standard toolkit is not enough. We must be more adaptive and more willing to take risk. The Wayfinder program in the Pacific shows what is possible when we genuinely design for local realities. That spirit must reach every part of the institution. It can accelerate private sector growth, deepen regional integration, and extend public services to those who have never had access, but only if it is built upon the sound governance and genuine inclusion. We will invest in infrastructure, in skills, and in the frameworks that make the digital economy work for everyone. Earlier, I announced ADB's historic Asia-Pacific Digital Highway initiative, which aims to mobilize $20 billion by 2035 by combining ADB's convening power and ability to mobilize private investment. We will expand resilient fiber networks, submarine cables, internet exchange points, and regional data centers. Underlying all of this is delivery. Ambition without execution is just intention. We will raise standards for project readiness, portfolio quality, and the measurement of impact. I must also acknowledge the most critical factor in executing this vision: our staff. Our staff, agility, innovation, and risk-taking can be encouraged through institutional measures, but ultimately depend upon people and their willingness to seek new solutions to complex challenges. Guided by our strategic human resource framework, we will invest in our people and continue decentralizing, bringing more staff closer to our clients, where understanding is deeper and results come faster. This year, ADB marks 60 years partnership across Asia and the Pacific. I think of what those 6 decades represent, not in aggregate figures, but in individual moments. The Fisher family I met in Cambodia, working to restore marine ecosystem while building more secure livelihood. The students I saw at the university in the Pacific that ADB helped equip with modern lecture halls, science labs, and their path forward. And the small business owners in Southeast Asia who spoke of gradual but genuine progress. These encounters remind me of something important. The people of this region do not wait for perfect conditions. They adapt, they build, and they press forward. Our responsibility is to be a reliable partner in that effort, one that listens carefully, acts decisively, and remains committed through difficulty. The challenges before us are real, but so is the progress we have made together. And so is my confidence in what this institution and this region can achieve. Thank you very much, Honorable Governors, for your guidance, your partnership, and your continued trust in ADB. Thank you very much.
Thank you, President Kanda. We will now proceed with the session. Let me call on Secretary to explain the conduct of this part of the meeting. Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To have an orderly and constructive discussion and to give sufficient time for governors to speak, an order of speaking has been established. In this regard, I'd like to remind the governors that the provisions relating to the conduct of the meeting, which have just been approved, call on governors to keep their spoken remarks brief within the allotted time of 3 minutes. For joint remarks, 5 minutes will be allotted. Please be assured that your full written remarks will be included in the summary of proceedings of the meeting. To help governors pace themselves, a system of signaling lights has been installed on the screens. We would request that governors conclude their remarks as soon as possible when the light turns red. Headphones are provided for simultaneous interpretation. Channels for various languages are flashed on the screen. With the Chair's permission, we propose to take 2 5-minute breaks during the session. Thank you, and over to you, Mr. Chair.
Distinguished governors, Mr. President, let me call on the governor for Japan.
Chairperson of the Board of Governors, President Kanda, governors, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the government of Uzbekistan for your warm hospitality. Amid increasing global uncertainty, strengthening resilience has become an urgent challenge in the Asia and Pacific region. I expect ADB to play a key role in this regard. Due to the conflict in the Middle East, shortages of crude oil and oil products are already becoming serious in some DMCs that are highly dependent on the Middle East for oil and gas. In this context, Japan highly commends ADB's swift response with an emergent support package. Last month, Japan also announced the Partnership on Wide Energy and Resources Resilience Asia, or Power Asia, mobilizing about $10 billion. Under this initiative, Japan will undertake 2 sets of actions for Asian economies. First, as an emergency response, Japan will provide financial support for these economies to procure oil and other essential materials and strengthen supply chains. Second, as structural measures, Japan will help enhance capacity for energy and resource supply with financial and technical support. Specifically, it will provide credit enhancement for the procurement of oil and oil products, as well as working capital necessary to sustain the production of related products such as naphtha. It will also support national efforts to diversify energy sources, including the deployment of geothermal energy and next-generation solar power. In implementing this initiative, Japan will work closely with ADB. To that end, we have launched the Action for Creating Energy Security for Long-Term Resilience, or ACCEL framework. It aims to support SMEs affected by the conflict while promoting the transformation of energy structure in DMCs. Under ACCEL, we expect to leverage Japan's knowledge and technology to contribute to enhanced growth across the Asia-Pacific region. Diversifying critical mineral supply chain is also essential for building resilience. Japan, therefore, welcomes the launch of the ADB's CMM FPF and will contribute $20 million. I look forward to other like-minded partners joining us in this important endeavor. Since assuming office, President Kanda has demonstrated strong leadership, advancing numerous initiatives at ADB, including strengthening private sector development and enhancing the bank's institutional capacity. Japan looks forward to ADB's efforts under President Kanda's continued leadership to address the development challenges for sustainable growth in the region. Thank you very much.
I thank Governor for Japan, and I call on the Governor for the United States.
Thank you, Chair. Let me offer my thanks to our host, Uzbekistan, for your kind hospitality and warm welcome here in Samarkand. Last year, U.S. Treasury Secretary Bessent called on the World Bank and the IMF to return to their core missions. Over the last year, we have pressed across the multilateral development banks, including at the Asian Development Bank, for a return to a clear focus on poverty reduction and economic growth. While we have seen some progress, significant gaps remain, and this institution must move faster to deliver on its core mission. First, the ADB's support must increase the self-reliance of its developing member countries. Graduation from MDB borrowing is the ultimate indicator of success for both the bank and the borrower. Many economies in the region are well past graduation eligibility, including China and Malaysia. It is long past time that the ADB apply its graduation policy rigorously and objectively, and more clearly prioritize countries with the greatest development needs and least market access. That includes low-income countries, fragile and conflict-affected states, and small island developing states of the Pacific. It is this focus that has helped us maintain strong support for the Asian Development Fund replenishment. Second, the ADB must expand access to affordable and reliable energy. We commend the bank for removing its prohibition on nuclear power in the update to the energy policy. To support stronger growth and increase relevance to developing member country needs, we encourage ADB to go further in supporting a broad range of energy technologies, including by eliminating restrictions on support for fossil fuels, particularly gas. The bank must also eliminate its arbitrary climate finance targets, which distort markets and project selection and cut against efforts to reduce poverty and spur economic growth. Third, the ADB must redouble its efforts on poverty reduction, project execution, and resource efficiency. As a development bank, ADB should focus on delivering impact and high-quality projects. By the ADB's own measure, in 2025, less than half of ADB's committed operations supported poverty reduction. And the ADB's success rate for both sovereign and non-sovereign operations remain concerningly low. Meanwhile, budget and salary growth continues to outpace peers and does not seem to translate into greater effectiveness. We see a connection between disappointing development outcomes, continued straying from core mission, lack of cost control, and inadequate attention to quality of delivery, and call on attention to these issues. Last, we commend the ADB for the recent changes to the procurement directive. We will closely monitor implementation of these important reforms, and we welcome strong coordination across the MDBs to boost competition and quality in procurement. We look forward to working together to deliver an ADB that refocuses its resources on the bank's core mission, promotes self-reliance, and delivers measurable development outcomes. Thank you.
Thank you. I thank the Governor for the United States, and I call on the Governor for the People's Republic of China.
Thank you, Chair. I also would like to thank the government of Uzbekistan and ADB for organizing this year's annual event. And we commend the ADB for the extraordinary performance in year 2025, especially the record high lending to developing members under the leadership of President Kanda-san. And we also commend the bank's recent rapid response to the impacts of the Middle East conflict with a comprehensive counter-cyclical policy package, which really shows the bank's vigilance and agility. We look forward to his effective and efficient implementation. Against this backdrop, we think we need strengthened regional cooperation more than ever, CARIC and the GMS program have played a key role in promoting regional infrastructure connectivity and economic corridors. And this year marks the 25th anniversary of CARIC, and it's time to scale up the bank's support for regional cooperation. In this regard, we welcome President Kanda's two new initiatives, the Pan-Asia Power Grid Initiative and Asia-Pacific Digital Highway. It's hoped the concrete and feasible plans come out to translate these initiatives into tangible outcomes in the early days. We also encourage ADB to deepen his cooperation with the upper middle income countries, with the UMIC, because UMIC is an important client group for the bank. It's expected the bank develop the UMIC approach paper to elaborate a roadmap for cooperation through lending, knowledge sharing, and trilateral cooperation. This would make the bank more relevant in addressing the regional and global challenges. This year also marks the 40th anniversary of partnership between PRC and the ADB. ADB has been a trusted and a strategic development partner to PRC over the past 4 decades, reform and opening up course. This cooperation is mutual benefit and a win-win for all. PRC is still a developing country. Looking forward, we will continue to engage with the bank in a more proactive way, along with the bank's graduation policy, and share our development experiences and development opportunities with all developing members. It's also hope the bank continue to hold multilateralism and non-political principle to better serve all clients in the new era. Thank you so much.
I thank the Governor of
President Masato Kanda, Governor for the Republic of Uzbekistan, Mr. Jamshid Khojayev, Deputy Prime Minister, distinguished members of the ADB Board of Governors and the ADB Board of Directors, Head of Delegations, leaders, ladies and gentlemen. It is a privilege to be here with all of you. I would like to thank the Asian Development Bank and the Uzbekistan government for the excellent arrangements and warm hospitality extended to all delegations. Each year, ADB's annual meetings provide an important opportunity to take stock of emerging challenges and strengthen our collective response. The current geopolitical environment presents multiple interconnected challenges, including those related to energy, food, debt, supply chains, and fiscal balance. These pressures underline the need for stronger and more coordinated responses. In this context, it is important that ADB moves beyond incremental approaches and adopts a more transformational approach to support sustainable and resilient regional development. ADB's timely support to countries affected by developments in West Asia is encouraging and highlights the importance of agility and preparedness in responding to crisis. Against this backdrop, economies such as India have continued to demonstrate resilience, supported by strong fundamentals and sustained reforms. At the same time, development needs remain large and require access to predictable, long-tenor, and affordable development finance, particularly for investments in infrastructure, climate transition, and human capital. From India's perspective, delivering on the billions to trillions agenda requires meaningful reforms in multilateral development banks. This includes enhanced risk appetite, better use of balance sheets, and stronger engagement with the private sector. Under the leadership of President Kanda and with ADB chairing the MDB group this year, there is a clear opportunity for concrete, system-wide action. The removal of chartered lending limitations has strengthened ADB's lending capacity. Going forward, ADB will need to develop strategies that address the evolving needs of larger DMCs such as India, which may approach their exposure limits in the coming years. It is therefore important that capital expansion measures, such as hybrid and callable capital, continue so that exposure limits do not constrain the development financing or borrowing programs of DMCs. In addition, ADB's role as a knowledge and innovation partner is important. Digitalization, particularly digital public infrastructure, can support inclusive growth and improve service delivery. ADB can support DMCs in scaling such solutions through financing and knowledge sharing. In conclusion, ADB's engagement with DMCs will need to be further strengthened and scaled up to support a more connected and prosperous region. India reaffirms its continued support to ADB and all its members. Thank you.
I thank the Governor for the Republic of India, and I call on the Governor for the Commonwealth of Australia.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to thank the Government of Uzbekistan as well for its warm hospitality and leadership as hosts of the 59th annual meeting. We aim to bring the same level of energy as those incredible dancers at the opening ceremony. Thank you very much for that. The theme, A Crossroads of Progress, Advancing the Region's Connected Future, captures the important role that the Asia Development Bank plays in helping Asia and the Pacific navigate the challenges of the present while investing for a more prosperous, resilient future. The regional outlook, of course, is worsening, and the effects of unfolding events in the Middle East will present grave challenges for some time. Economies in the region are highly vulnerable to higher energy prices, physical fuel and fertiliser supply disruption, fiscal pressures and weaker remittance and tourism flows. This is a challenge that the ADB must rise to meet at scale in a way that meets the needs of clients. The bank's evolution to better respond to client needs has clearly been demonstrated in the ADB's leadership and responsiveness in addressing the impacts of the conflict in the Middle East on client countries. Support is essential to assist countries manage risks, maintain macroeconomic stability, and protect vulnerable populations, particularly in Pacific Small Island Developing States, or SIDS. Pacific SIDS and fragile and conflict-affected members face acute vulnerabilities to climate change, disasters and external shocks and require targeted and differentiated support. In this regard, Australia welcomes ADB's deepened engagement in the Pacific, including through tailored financing, policy support and strengthened presence on the ground. In order to meet current economic challenges, this support needs to be fast, simple and flexible. ADB has an important leadership role in aligning development finance with climate ambition and regional priorities. The Middle East crisis reinforces the case for accelerated long-term energy security, particularly in the Pacific. We welcome reforms introduced under the new procurement directive, which places greater emphasis on quality, value for money and sustainability. Effective implementation is now required to support local job creation, economic growth, promote competition, and will be critical to achieving sustainable development outcomes. We also commend the ADB's commitment to ensure that only ADB branding is displayed on ADB projects, a signal of the commitment from ADB donors. Australia welcomes landmark reforms advanced over the past year, the amendment to the ADB's charter, the adoption of the new capital utilisation plan, the full mutual reliance framework with the World Bank, as well as a new approach to strengthen and diversify critical mineral value chains. Together, these strengthen the bank's capacity to deliver impact at scale. Finally, we recognise the bank's progress on gender equality and encourage the bank to continue aligning its senior leadership profile and commitments to advance this issue. Thank you.
I thank the Governor for the Commonwealth of Australia, and I call on the Governor for the Republic of Indonesia.
Thank you, Honourable Chairs. On behalf of the government of the Republic of Indonesia, I extend our sincere appreciation to the government of Uzbekistan for hosting this meeting and to ADB for its continued leadership in advancing sustainable development across the region. The global economy in 2026 shows cautious resilience amid persistent geopolitical tensions and policy uncertainty. Growth remains stable but below pre-pandemic levels, with fragmentation risks and trade tensions continuing to weigh on markets and supply chains. Against this backdrop, Indonesia's economy remains strong. Growth reached 5.11% in 2025, supported by robust domestic demand, solid investment, and prudent fiscal policy. Inflation has moderated, and external performance remains sound with a sustained surplus. Growth is projected to reach 5.54% in 2026, driven by consumption, investment, and ongoing structural transformation, including downstream industrialization. Strong policy coordination and innovative financing will further support resilience and mobilize private investment. Indonesia appreciates ADB continued support across priority sectors, including infrastructure, energy transition, and food security. In this uncertain global environment, in strengthening resilience, inclusivity, and sustainability is more critical than ever. Indonesia values ADB as a key partner in addressing these challenges. We commend ADB's strong performance and welcome its institutional reforms to expand lending capacity and accelerate project delivery. Indonesia welcomes ADB initiative on CMMFP facility, which aligns closely with Indonesia's development strategy. As a resource-rich country, Indonesia is advancing downstream industrialization to capture greater value added and strengthen supply chains. We see strong potential for ADB to support the full value chains from extraction to processing, manufacturing, and recycling while mobilizing private investment. This will reinforce regional supply chain resilience and support the transition to greener economy. As ADB approaches its 60th anniversary, we reaffirm our strong partnership and look forward to continuing collaboration in advancing a more resilient, inclusive, and sustainable future for the region. I thank you for your attention.
I thank the Governor for the Republic of Indonesia. I call on the Governor for Canada.
Thank you so much. On behalf of Canada, I'd like to thank the government of Uzbekistan and the people of Samarkand for hosting us all here today. In a period marked by economic volatility, geopolitical fragmentation, and tightening fiscal conditions, the ADB remains a reliable source of stability and a trusted partner for its members. Through the ADB, countries come together to make real and lasting progress across Asia and the Pacific. We recognize the significant institutional reforms the ADB has undertaken to strengthen its efficiency, effectiveness, and ability to deliver results. These reforms are essential to ensuring the bank can continue responding to the evolving needs of a diverse and dynamic region. Canada encourages the bank to maintain its ambition by further streamlining processes, enhancing agility, and strengthening procurement systems to improve value for money and implementation outcomes, supported by transparent, consultative governance and clear board management accountability to safeguard institutional integrity and member confidence. Canada is a strong supporter of MDB reform more broadly. We believe that MDBs must continue to innovate financially, make full use of their balance sheets, and expand their capacity to crowd in capital. The scale of the region's development and climate challenges requires new approaches to leveraging public resources and mobilizing investment. The 2026 review of ADB's capital adequacy policy is a key opportunity to advance these innovations and continue optimizing the bank's capital for greater development impact. MDBs have a critical role to play in times of crisis, and Canada will support well-designed responses packages when required. The ADB's growing emphasis on private sector development is thereby both timely and necessary. A strong and vibrant private sector is central to generating jobs, driving innovation, and supporting long-term growth. The ADBs has set out a clear roadmap for strengthening sector diagnostics, breaking down silos, and integrating private sector participation across operation. Canada welcomes this direction, along with the forthcoming operational plan for private sector operations, which will help scale non-sovereign activities and articulate a stronger institutional vision. Canada strongly supports efforts to advance innovative financial products that de-risk transactions and mobilize capital at scale. This aligns with Canada's active support for the G7 Principles for Private Capital Mobilization, which emphasizes transparency, robust project pipelines, strengthened policy environments, and disciplined use of public funds. We encourage the bank to continue embedding these principles into its instruments and partnerships. A vibrant private sector depends on strong regulatory frameworks, transparent governance, and predictable enabling conditions. Canada therefore supports ADB's work with governments to improve investment climates, expand access to markets, and strengthening institutions, elements that are essential for connecting developing economies to global value chains. As private sector operations expand, Canada encourages continued use of clear targets, measurable outcomes, and strong accountability mechanisms to ensure that private capital mobilization translates into tangible development results. Canada believes that gender equality and women's empowerment are foundational to achieving inclusive, sustainable economic growth across Asia and the Pacific. In that regard, the upcoming renewal of the bank's gender equality policy offers an important opportunity to strengthen this commitment and accelerate progress. Canada also underscores the importance of ensuring that vulnerable and marginalized populations, including those facing discrimination based on gender identity or sexual orientation, are able to participate fully in economic development. Canada urges the bank to further strengthen the ambition and impact of climate components across its portfolio, focusing on measurable outcomes and effective use of capital to support transformational climate action. These efforts are essential to ensure that the bank remains responsive to the region's most pressing priorities. Finally, Canada underscores the importance of maintaining strong budget discipline at a time of widespread fiscal tightening across national governments and international institutions. Strategic, responsible, and well-prioritized use of resources, including limiting increases in administrative and personnel costs, is essential for sustaining member trust and delivering lasting development results. We look forward to deepening our partnership with the ADB as we work together to advance sustainable, inclusive, and resilient development across Asia and the Pacific. Thank you.
I thank the Governor for Canada. I call on the Governor for the Republic of Korea.
Thank you, Chair. I'm so pleased to join all of you in Samarkand at the heart of the Silk Road. I thank the Uzbekistan government for the warm hospitality. Today, I'd like to highlight 3 areas of cooperation in our region. First, supply chain stability. Recent geopolitical tensions have reminded us how vulnerable our supply chain remains. In this sense, ADB's growing focus on supply chains and critical minerals is a timely and the right direction. Second, green transformation. Reducing dependence on fossil fuels is important, not only for the environment, but also for energy security and economic resilience. Korea and the ADB are advancing green transformation through various initiatives, including the Korea Climate Technology Hub. Building on such cooperation, we look forward to seeing ADB further expand its green leadership. Korea will continue to support ADB's green initiatives through IPCAP and the Trust Fund. Last but not least, artificial intelligence. AI is a key driver of productivity and innovation across the economy. For developing countries, it can open up new opportunities for growth. To catalyze this, Korea and the ADB agreed to establish the Center for AI Innovation and Development in Korea. Through this, we plan to embed AI into ADB projects and promote practical solutions, such as small AI tailored to country needs. To support this, Korea will establish a dedicated AI trust fund of $20 million. At this crossroads of progress, green and AI transformations will lead us toward a new sustainable and inclusive future. Korea will stand as a strong partner in this journey. Thank you very much.
I thank the Governor for the Republic of Korea and governors. We will be having a 5-minute break. After the break, the alternate governor for Uzbekistan, Mr. Norkul, will take the chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, fellow members of the Board of Governors, Honorable President Kanda, colleagues. Let me begin by thanking the government of Uzbekistan and ADB for hosting this event here in Samarkand, a city praised for its beauty and trade since ancient time. Among others by Italian traveler and explorer Marco Polo 750 years ago. I would also like to commend President Kanda and ADB management for the important initiatives and announcements launched today, and for a remarkable year 2025. ADB has not only achieved record lending volumes, it also met its 50% climate finance target, underscoring the bank's strong commitment to climate action at scale. Thank you for your powerful leadership, President Kanda. Beyond climate finance, ADB needs to continue to play a strong role in advancing key objectives such as gender equality and diversity, strengthening regional cooperation and integration, and supporting regional and global public goods. These goals are central to sustainable development in the region and correspond to the priorities of German development cooperation with Asia and the Pacific: climate, the environment, and clean water, renewable energy, economic cooperation, and the protection of democratic structures. These priorities are particularly important in today's challenging global environment. The escalation of the conflict in the Middle East is a reminder that adverse impacts of geopolitical crisis are felt around the globe, including for EDB's developing member countries, through energy and fertilizer price shocks, disruptions to transport and tourism, and heightened macroeconomic uncertainty. Against this backdrop, Germany appreciates ADB efforts to support DMCs through timely assistance and policy advice. We always welcome early information and consultation with the Board of Directors ahead of public announcements on support packages, as the Board is ready to engage quickly, even in emergency situations. This helps ensure strong ownership and speed in implementation. With regard to the nature of the response measures, we understand that short-term stabilization measures are needed. However, it is essential to keep medium-term measures in mind, notably by focusing on renewable energies in order to decrease fossil fuel dependencies and, for example, on the local production of fertilizer in order to secure food production. Let me now touch briefly upon 3 areas which we deem essential to bank operation: impact, cost, and accountability. First, we welcome the presentation of recent reports on results of the bank operations. They show very clearly progress in some areas, while there is room for improvement in others. Noting that success rates in both sovereign investment projects and non-sovereign projects are below 60%, we call on ADB management to put an even stronger emphasis on operational effectiveness and performance. In the end, colleagues, the important thing is not the money we spend, it is the development impact we achieve. In second place, Germany welcomes the ongoing comprehensive review of compensation and benefits. We see this review as an important opportunity to ensure that ADB will remain an attractive and competitive institution while maintaining prudent use of shareholders' resources. Thirdly, let me turn to the accountability mechanism policy review. From Germany's perspective, a strong, credible, and independent accountability mechanism is essential for the integrity of ADB's safeguard system and for maintaining trust with stakeholders' communities. Germany will continue to support ADB as a reliable partner for sustainable, inclusive, and climate-resilient development in the region. Thank you very much.
I thank the Governor for Germany, and I call on the Governor for Malaysia, please.
Thank you, Chair. President Kanda, fellow governor, and distinguished guests. Malaysia would like to take this opportunity to congratulate ADB and Government of Republic of Uzbekistan on successful hosting of the ADB 59 annual meeting in beautiful city of Samarkand. At a time of increasing economic uncertainty, geopolitical tension, and intensifying climate risk, ADB roles as a trusted development partner in Asia and the Pacific have never been more important. Malaysia welcomes the clear strategic direction outlined for ADB's operation and institutional priorities in coming years, and we commend ADB's continued leadership in advancing inclusive, resilient, and sustainable development across the region. We are pleased to note ADB's intention to strengthen its presence on the ground and welcome the planned establishment of the ADB's office in Malaysia. We see this as a positive step that will deepen engagement, improve responsiveness, and create practical opportunities for collaboration benefiting both ADB and Malaysia. On the private sector development, Malaysia strongly supports ADB's renewed focus on mobilizing private capital. The scale of development challenges facing our region requires us to go beyond traditional public financing. Innovative financing instruments, stronger collaboration between sovereign and non-sovereign operations, and improved investment environment will be essential to crowd in private investment and unlock new opportunities for growth. Malaysia also welcomes ADB's ambition to accelerate regional cooperation and integration initiatives that strengthen connectivity, enhance supply chain resilience, and promote energy cooperation. In particular, cross-border infrastructure and regional energy interconnection, including the ASEAN power grid, will be critical in supporting sustainable and inclusive growth. Climate change and natural disasters continue to pose serious risks to our economies and communities. Malaysia welcomes ADB's effort to strengthen disaster response mechanisms, expand contingency financing, and accelerate the transition toward cleaner and more sustainable energy system. Building resilience must remain central to our development agenda. On digital transformation, Malaysia recognizes its immense potential to enhance productivity, connectivity, and financial inclusion across the region. At the same time, it is important that digital development is accompanied by a strong governance framework, cybersecurity safeguard, and investment in digital skills to ensure that no one is left behind. As we move forward, Malaysia looks forward to continuing its close partnership with ADB and fellow members to advance inclusive, sustainable, and resilient growth across Asia and the Pacific. Thank you.
I thank the Governor for Malaysia, and I now call on the Governor for the Philippines. Please.
Thank you, Chair. The Government of the Philippines would like to express its sincere appreciation to the Asian Development Bank and the Government of Uzbekistan for the warm hospitality and excellent organization of the 59th annual meeting of the ADB Board of Governors. Recent global shocks have exposed significant vulnerabilities in our economies. For the Philippines, these have led to energy market price shocks and logistic disruptions, which drives domestic prices up and amplifies the downside risk to our growth prospects. These pressures force us to confront the difficult balance of responding to present challenges while continuing to invest in quality public services and infrastructure. One of our main priorities is to leverage digital innovation to drive growth. The enactment of the e-governance law aims to develop a whole-of-government digital transformation. As of the end of last year, the Philippine government launched 25 e-government platforms with more than 650 million transactions completed. These platforms address critical challenges such as bureaucratic inefficiencies, redundant processes, and accessibility gaps. We also established the National Artificial Intelligence Strategy Roadmap, which aims to expand data infrastructure, cloud capacity, and upskill the Filipino workforce for a more efficient, AI-enabled economy. A cornerstone of our efforts in modernizing our investment landscape is to create more law, which offers a more globally competitive and predictable tax incentive regime. We also operationalized the new PPP code, which expanded our infrastructure pipeline to over 250 projects as of early this year. Alongside this initiative is our call for urgent and sustained climate action. In 2025, we completed the second operation of the Climate Change Action Program. In particular, we launched the Philippine Energy Plan and the National Total Electrification Roadmap to support universal access to clean energy. Under this program, we adopted guidelines to incentivize electric vehicles, doubled climate risk insurance coverage for high-value crops, and launched index-based insurance modeling for climate risk management and agriculture. The complexity of today's challenges reminds us that no nation can act in isolation. We call on the bank to further deepen its commitment to our development agenda, such as ensuring the availability of climate financing and expanding blended finance for infrastructure, digitalization, and human capital initiatives. We thank the ADB for its steadfast support in guiding the region through this period of challenges and transformation. Thank you.
I thank the Governor for Philippines, and I now call on the Governor for France. Please.
Thank you, Chair. On behalf of France, I would like to express our deep appreciation to Uzbekistan for its generous hospitality and to warmly thank President Kanda and the ADB for an excellent organization of this annual meeting. Let me begin by congratulating ADB for its record activity in 2025 and highlight 3 points of strong delivery. First, in expanding private sector operations as well as the high level of climate co-benefits which contribute to a robust and resilient foundation for long-term development. Second, the continued humanitarian assistance to the peoples of Afghanistan and Myanmar, as well as advances in disaster risk solutions, illustrated by the recent cat bond for Kyrgyz Republic and Tajikistan. Third, the broader implementation of CAF reforms, together with the new corporate results framework that should allow greater focus and risk-taking where it matters most, particularly in FCAS and SIDS. Against this positive backdrop, we also acknowledge the significant shock and uncertainty stemming from the situation in the Middle East. We welcome the bank's rapid and pragmatic response and encourage continued coordination with other MDBs. Given the uncertainty, flexibility remains essential and must go hand in hand with strong board oversight supported by timely and transparent information. In this context, it is also essential to stay the course on long-term priorities. In particular, this is an opportunity to help accelerate the transition toward more resilient and sustainable growth models, particularly in energy systems. In this regard, we welcome the launch of the new Pan-Asia Power Grid Initiative, and we also welcome ADB's work on critical minerals to ensure that this necessary energy transition does not create new dependencies, but rather increases local value addition in DMCs. To maximize long-term development outcomes, how we deliver on these ambitions is critical and must be part of a holistic approach. This is where the new procurement directive is important, and we look forward to its effective and determined implementation. Finally, the heightened uncertainty and global pressure on resources also call for strong governance and continued budget discipline at the bank. We count on continued proactive engagement between management and the board to navigate this complex environment effectively, and we expect all MDBs to exercise renewed discipline in administrative expenditures, including greater moderation in compensation and benefits. In closing, we are confident that President Kanda and the bank will continue to deliver and look forward to the next achievements. Thank you.
I thank the Governor for France. I understand the Governor for Tuvalu will deliver joint remarks on behalf of 14 Pacific developing member countries of ADB. I now call on the Governor for Tuvalu to deliver the remarks. Please.
Chairman of the Board of Governors, President of the Asian Pacific Development Bank, esteemed governors, ladies and gentlemen, Talofa. At the outset, allow me, on behalf of 14 Pacific developing member countries, to express our sincere appreciation to the government and people of Uzbekistan for the warm hospitality and excellent arrangements extended to all delegates at this annual meeting. We meet at a time of heightened global uncertainty, rising geopolitical tensions, tighter financial conditions, supply disruptions, and increasingly frequent climate-related shocks continue to test all economies. For the Pacific, these pressures are amplified by narrow economic bases, geographic isolation, and acute vulnerability to external shocks. Recent fuel supply disruptions affecting parts of the Pacific have underscored how quickly external events can translate into severe domestic hardship for small island economies. In this context, the PDMC urges the Asian Development Bank to coordinate a dedicated financing facility alongside a regional response plan to support member countries in addressing the current fuel crisis, including, though not limited to, strengthening regional fuel storage capacity. It is against this backdrop that I wish to highlight 4 priorities that remain central to the Pacific, and where continued partnership with the Asian Development Bank will be indispensable. First, strengthening economic and physical resilience. The Pacific economies remain highly vulnerable to global supply and price disruptions, particularly through continued dependence on imported fuel for electricity, transport, and essential services. There is therefore a clear need for development financing that is more flexible, faster to deploy, and better able to respond not only to natural disasters, but also to sudden economic shocks. At the same time, investment in energy security, including renewable energy within a balanced energy mix, must be accelerated to reduce long-term vulnerability and strengthen physical resilience. Second, accelerating access to climate finance. For the Pacific, climate change is not a future concern. It is a daily development reality affecting livelihoods, infrastructure, food security, and national planning. What is required now is a significant scale-up of grant-based climate finance, together with simpler, faster, and more direct access. Current income-based classifications do not adequately reflect the lived vulnerability of small island developing states. The operationalization of the multi-dimensional vulnerability index is therefore critical to ensuring fairness in financing decisions. We all see the regional pragmatic approach to climate change as an important platform to mobilize climate resources at scale while aligning support with national priorities. Third, supporting private sector-led growth. Long-term resilience will depend on building more diversified and sustainable domestic economies, with the private sector playing a stronger role in investment, employment, and innovation. Enhanced support through the Private Sector Development Initiative, together with programs such as Wayfinder and Frontier Seed, will be important in unlocking opportunities for micro, small, and medium enterprises. There is strong potential across the Pacific in the blue economy, digital transformation, and climate-resilient agriculture. Stronger digital connectivity, improved cross-border payment systems, and continued efforts to address corresponding banking challenges also remain essential. As the new Pacific approach is advanced, it will be important that it remains firmly aligned with the 2050 strategy for the Blue Pacific continent and responsive to the emerging Pacific priorities. Fourth, reinforcing regional cooperation. For Pacific countries, island countries, regional cooperation is a necessity. Frameworks such as the full mutual reliance framework are important in reducing duplication, streamlining processes, and improving the delivery of development assistance. At the same time, continued investment in resilient infrastructure remains fundamental to Pacific development. Regional approaches to infrastructure delivery, procurement, and technical services can help overcome the scale limitations faced by small island economies. But Such investments must continue to be guided by quality, sustainability, and long-term affordability. Strict adherence to the Pacific Quality Infrastructure principles, together with stronger integration of operations and maintenance into project design and financing, will be essential to ensuring that infrastructure delivers lasting value. In conclusion, the Pacific faces a convergence of economic, climate, and structural pressures that demand a development response which is more agile, more accessible, and more closely aligned to our realities. Our partnership with the Asian Development Bank remains deeply valued, but as the Pacific developers evolve, the development response must evolve with equal speed, flexibility, and determination. This is not simply a question of financing more projects. It is a question of financing resilience, financing opportunity, and financing a sustainable future for Pacific people. Prof. Taylasi, thank you.
I thank the Governor for Tuvalu, and I call on the Governor for Pakistan. Please.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you so much. Let me begin by expressing gratitude to the government of Uzbekistan for their great hospitality and for hosting ADB's annual meeting in Samarkand, a historic Silk Road city. Ladies and gentlemen, we meet at a time when the countries are facing a critical moment in history. As our economies were beginning to resume growth momentum, severe risk and heightened uncertainties have emerged, triggered by the conflict in the Middle East. It has generated significant spillovers through disruption of energy supplies, trade, price pressures, rising freight cost, and increasing pressures on food security. These factors are amplifying inflationary pressures and serious implications for fiscal and external balances. I would like to mention that Pakistan remains committed to playing a very constructive role in brokering peace between the United States and Iran. We are fully deploying our diplomatic capital to facilitate dialogue and de-escalate tensions. These efforts reflect Pakistan's broader commitment to promoting regional peace and stability, which are prerequisite for regional prosperity. Pakistan is currently undergoing a stabilization and reform program. Reforms are focused on broadening the tax base, enhancing energy security, rationalizing expenditures, eliminating untargeted subsidies, and improving the governance of state-owned enterprising, including the privatization of Pakistan International Airline. Pakistan's progress on reform front has been validated externally through successive upgrades in its sovereign credit rating. While Pakistan's economic outlook has improved substantively, the conflict in the Middle East poses an imminent risk. With limited fiscal space, our priority is to maintain macroeconomic stability and implement demand-side measures to save fuel and contain expenditures. In this context, we greatly appreciate ADB's announcement of emergency support package for most vulnerable countries. However, I would like to urge ADB management to deliver support with speed and at a scale that matches the scale of the crisis and genuine needs of the most affected countries. At the same time, it is critical to safeguard ongoing and future development portfolio commitments so that the development outcomes in the region remains on track. Pakistan highly values its long-term partnership with the ADB. As we continue to move forward with our reform efforts, continued support from ADB is essential. In this regard, I would like to highlight a few key areas. First, Pakistan greatly appreciates the recent approval of the Country Partnership Strategy 2026-2030. We look forward to its effective implementation, and we expect that the CPS will be appropriately resourced to achieve tangible outcomes. Secondly, we fully support the ongoing institutional reforms led by President Kanda to make the bank bigger, better, bolder, and faster. In this context, the reform should place much stronger focus on internal business process reforms, empowerment of the resident missions, and by moving more people and resources from the headquarters to the resident missions. These measures will enhance efficiency, productivity, and development impact. Third, the 2023 Capital Adequacy Framework Review created additional lending headroom of $100 billion over the next 10 years. The bank also introduced country exposure limits, which made the bank more risk-averse in its lending approach towards low-income and high concentration countries, as the country exposure limits were set largely on the basis of DMC's sovereign risk rating without due respect or regard to the size of the economy and the population and the level of poverty and vulnerability. Some of our major DMCs are now likely facing their exposure limits and are placed in a high concentration category. This would likely have serious implications for ADB's future portfolio growth in those countries affecting development outcomes. While we appreciate the bank's proactive risk management practices and innovative solutions, we will strongly urge the management to introduce appropriate policy adjustments and increase country exposure limits appropriately during the ongoing CAF review process so that the countries can maintain their full access to ADB's resources and navigate through the tough times and complex challenges they are facing today. In closing, I would like to state that at this critical juncture, let us reaffirm our resolve to work together towards a more connected, resilient, and sustainable future for our region. While the challenges ahead are mounting, they remain well within the collective capacity of us to address them through the shared commitment, partnership, and stronger cooperation. Thank you, Chair.
I thank the Governor for Pakistan, and I call on the Governor for the United Kingdom. Please.
Chair, President Kanda, distinguished Governors, Excellencies, we thank Uzbekistan for hosting so warmly this annual meeting, and I extend congratulations to President Kanda-san and your team on the bank's impressive results last year. In my roles as the UK Alternate Governor and Minister for the Indo-Pacific, I recognise that in this critical moment for global security and prosperity, the role of the ADB in responding to global challenges has never been more important. The UK is the largest European donor to the Asian Development Fund and a major contributor to ADB trust funds and via guarantees. As we look forward at the current and future challenges ahead, I want to share the UK's 4 priorities for the bank. The first priority is to fully deploy the bank's crisis toolkit in response to the Iran conflict. The ADB must protect energy and food security now, whilst building resilience to future shocks. Coordination with other NDBs on finance and policy is essential, and we welcome, for example, the $100 million in additional lending to Sri Lanka. Secondly, supporting resilience in fragile and vulnerable states. The UK welcomes the bank's sustained engagement in Afghanistan, Myanmar, and Pacific small island developing states. I was updated during my visit to Fiji last week, and in meetings with the Pacific Island Forum Secretariat on the challenges that Pacific Islands face in accessing climate finance, despite the existential challenges, and the need for greater donor coordination. The MDBs are a key source of finance, and we must remain engaged in the hardest places to reach. Thirdly, making progress on climate and gender are fundamental for economic development. We welcome progress towards the bank's target of 50% climate and green and clean energy lending, and further steps also on critical mineral supply. And fourthly, unlocking private investment and innovation and technology. Public resources alone cannot meet the region's financing needs. Where it is needed, the City of London can offer vital private investment as well as expertise. And the UK's $5 million investment into Bayfront Capital helped mobilise over $400 million of private capital for climate resilience infrastructure in Asia. Mr. President, these four priorities will be central to the bank's impact in the years to come. We echo your confidence for what we can achieve together. The UK stands ready to work with you and our partners to build a safer, greener, more resilient and more prosperous Asia-Pacific. Thank you.
I thank the Governor for the United Kingdom. I understand that the Governor for Finland will deliver joint remarks on behalf of the 4 Nordic member countries of ADB. I now call on the Governor for Finland to deliver the remarks. Please.
Mr. Chair, Mr. President, Governors, on behalf of the 4 Nordic countries, Denmark, Finland, Norway and Sweden, I would like to express our gratitude to the government of Uzbekistan for hosting this annual meeting. And we also thank ADB management and staff for their excellent preparations. As the conflict in the Middle East continues to affect developing member countries, we express our solidarity and welcome ADB's efforts to help mitigate its impact across the region. We encourage ADB to ensure that its responses are tailored to the specific circumstances and needs of each country. In the current geopolitical environment, strong and well-governed multilateral institutions are more important than ever. The ADB is a vital pillar of the multilateral system. Safeguarding the institution requires preserving its transparent, accountable, and rules-based governance structure and fostering a constructive relationship between the board and management. ADB's contributions to the MDB evolution agenda are impressive. The additional financial headroom created by capital adequacy framework reform, the new operating model, and the recent removal of the charter lending limit significantly strengthen ADB's capacity. Several Nordics have also contributed with guarantees to the if cap, and shareholders in general have provided ADB with additional financial capacity to implement Strategy 2030. Climate change is the defining development challenge of our time. It threatens growth, stability, food and water security, and disproportionately affects the poorest and most vulnerable. ADB's leadership in climate finance and the green energy transition is therefore central to its mandate. We reaffirm the importance of reaching at least 50% of total committed financing for climate by 2030, as agreed in the corporate results framework. And it must be credibly reflected in operational planning, monitoring systems, and reporting. We also encourage ADB to contribute meaningfully to the objectives under the new collective quantified goal. A transition away from fossil fuels will be critical. A substantial share of climate finance must support green energy systems, energy efficiency, and resilience. We welcome the revised energy policy and the approach to critical minerals as important steps in supporting the green transition. Another transition, namely the digital transition, is something where we welcome the bank's strengthened approach to support that agenda, including secure and trusted connections. Even with expanded lending capacity, greater development impact is not guaranteed. ADB needs to use its resources efficiently. We note with some concern that the administrative budget has grown relative to allocable net income. Sustained budget discipline, responsible administrative spending, and alignment between staffing and strategic priorities are necessary to ensure value for money. Sound risk management and robust safeguards are fundamental to lasting development impact and the bank's reputation and financial strength. Integrity and corruption risks linked to public investments, blended finance, and private sector transactions can contribute to macroeconomic fragility and political instability. These risks must be identified early, addressed candidly, and effectively mitigated and monitored to ensure sustainable development results. It is equally important to continue to strengthen robust integrity and accountability system. We welcome the review of the ADB's gender policy. Investing in gender equality and social inclusion is central to sustainable development outcomes. Addressing structural barriers, root causes, and leveraging new technologies can expand opportunities for women and marginalized groups. Full and consistent implementation of the environmental and social framework across all operations remains essential to ensure that vulnerable and disadvantaged groups are not left behind. We also support ADB's increased focus on private sector-led growth and encourage further expansion. We welcome the steps taken in response to the Independent Evaluation Department's findings and note management's commitment to align public and private operations even better. ADB must ensure that private operations deliver impact with real additionality. The success of private sector operations must be assessed against standards of development impact, additionality, and transparency. The role and capacity of country offices will be critical, and going forward, we would like to see ADB's financing becoming even more catalytic and having even more leverage impact. ADB has the mandate and financial strength to lead on climate and sustainable development in Asia and the Pacific. With disciplined governance, strategic focus, and firm commitment to agreed priorities, the bank can deliver transformative results. The Nordic countries stand ready to work closely with ADB and its members. Thank you.
I thank the Governor for Finland, and I call on the Governor for Italy, please. The mic is off, I think.
Can you hear me now? Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair, and allow me to express our gratitude to the government of Uzbekistan for its warm hospitality, and also express our appreciation to President Kanda, ADB management and staff for the results achieved last year. Since we met in Milan 1 year ago, the global economic and financial landscape has deeply changed, and also Asia and the Pacific have entered into a period of heightened uncertainty, so we welcome ADB's swift and timely response to the current Middle East crisis. In this context, the Asian Development Bank has a dual role to play. With regard to the first role, the ADB is widely considered as a trusted partner for developing nations in Asia and the Pacific, and therefore is called upon to deliver concrete solutions where needs are greatest. It must do so by remaining anchored to a clear comparative advantage and by managing resources efficiently, also through budget discipline. More specifically, in Italy's views, ADB's strategic engagement in emerging sectors is the best response to the current global economic situation. And there are two areas where we see the greatest potential. First, the revised energy policy opens the possibility for ADB to support developing member countries in new areas through a tailored, pragmatic, and flexible approach by widening the range of energy sources at their disposal and considering their development needs. We look forward to seeing the revised policy in action. And second, the new ADB critical to minerals to manufacturing value chains approach will allow the bank to support developing member countries in capturing the benefits of the energy transition, also through greater diversification and local workforce upskilling. As for the second role that the ADB can play, the ADB actually is advancing system-wide MDB's coordination as chair of the MDB Heads Group in 2026. Such coordination is more relevant than ever to support stability, safeguard development progress, and respond to mounting pressures in client countries. Most notably, we appreciate the ADB's coordination in two areas aimed at avoiding fragmentation and duplication. First, we welcome the joint MDB statement on critical minerals to manufacturing value chains issued on the sidelines of the 2026 spring meetings and look forward to the joint collaboration framework. And second, we see merit in the ADB working together with other MDBs to harmonize procurement standards across institutions, since procurement processes and outcome represent a lever to reduce poverty and spur private sector-led economic growth and development. In this regard, we also welcome the ADB procurement directive and expect further progress in curbing anti-competitive practices and improving transparency, accountability, and oversight capabilities in the execution phases. As a closing remark, I would like to call upon all ADB member countries to work together to finalize by the end of this year a revised accountability mechanism policy upholding the highest international standards. Thank you.
I thank the Governor for Italy, and I call on the Governor for New Zealand. Please.
Honourable Governors, President Kanda, and to our generous hosts here in Uzbekistan, kia ora koutou. It's a great pleasure to be here in Samarkand and to make these remarks on behalf of New Zealand. The theme of this year's forum is advancing the region's connected future. Events in the Middle East since February have clearly highlighted the interconnected nature of regional economies, including through energy supply chains, and the need to be coordinated and connected in how we build resilience and respond to crises. The ADB has a central role to play in building these connections. New Zealand welcomes the bank's proactive engagement on the tools it can offer to developing member countries to help alleviate the immediate financial shock due to the Strait of Hormuz crisis. While grappling with this immediate challenge, we should not neglect long-term and shared challenges. Our region suffers from a development and infrastructure gap. The ADB must continue to be responsive to country priorities such as climate change, which poses an existential threat to the Pacific. The bank has an important role to play in responding to the Pacific region's need for investment in renewable energy infrastructure to mitigate emissions and to support the region's economic and social resilience. We welcome the bank's responsiveness to this growing demand. New Zealand acknowledges the bank's increased focus on quality, competition, and value for money in procurement. In the Pacific context, New Zealand will continue to call for the Pacific Islands Forum-endorsed Pacific Quality Infrastructure Principles to be upheld and promoted. Together, we have jointly celebrated the launch of the Pacific Infrastructure Pipeline earlier this year, and we greatly appreciate the ADB's cooperation with this multi-donor portal that provides visibility on upcoming tenders and facilitates improved planning and increased cooperation by suppliers. We acknowledge the bank's efforts on procurement reform. We welcome their efforts to engage with contractors in our region and to listen to their feedback and to build brand awareness more broadly. There is more work that the bank can do to improve its branding and strategic communications. The bank is a significant player in our region and it has a good story to tell. We encourage the bank's continued focus on issues and objectives it has identified as critical for development assistance effectiveness, including giving due consideration to gender, climate and distributional impacts, operations and maintenance, project preparedness, and stronger theory of change and monitoring and evaluation frameworks. We call on the bank to maintain high standards of transparency and communication to maintain donor confidence. Mr. President, in this time of great uncertainty, New Zealand believes that the ADB can be a model of flexibility, responsiveness, good governance, donor coordination, and effective development assistance. As we focus at this meeting on our region's connected future, let us work together to promote high ambition and standards across the Asia-Pacific. Thank you.
I thank the Governor for the New Zealand, and I call on for the Governor of Thailand. For Thailand, thank you. Please.
Chairman of the Board of the Governor, President of ADB, fellow governors, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor to address 59th annual meeting in here, Samarkand. Thailand warmly endorsed this year's theme, Crossroads of Progress, Advancing the Region Connected Future. as it correctly reflects where Asians stand by today, shaped by technology, shifting supply chain, and a complex geopolitical environment. We believe that deepening regional connectivity through infrastructure, digital network, and financial system is not only for economic objective, but is also important for our resilience and prosperity. Thailand has acted on this belief. Under the Thailand 4.0, we are transforming our economy toward innovation, high-value industry, and digital technology, aiming to reach high-income status by 2032. The Eastern Economic Corridor, or we call it EEC, is a representation of these ambitions, combining advanced manufacturing, digital services, and smart infrastructure, supported by multimodal transport and a high-speed rail link connecting our three major airports. Our digital economy and society development plan, driving 5G rollout and build a strong digital ecosystem. The Bio-Circular Green or BCG model anchor our commitment to sustainable growth, aligned with the SDGs and Paris Agreement. Thailand also support Asian and Mekong connectivity through the Irrawaddy Chao Phraya Mekong Economic Cooperation Strategy and other major economic corridors. In these challenging times, our priority is to deliver targeted support and manage strategic transition, addressing immediate needs while laying the foundation for long-term sustainability. Another important aspect is transformation by empowering individuals to grow and success together through strong public-private collaborations. We value ADB long-standing partnership since 1968, with over 7.4 billion in loan, grant, and technical assistance. ADB recent support has been well targeted. The 68.7 million loan for climate resilient road to Utapao Airport in the EEC, and ADB first green data center investment in Thailand. With an innovative private sector engagement that help build a sustainable digital economy, we also welcome ADB technical support in capital markets, private sector competitiveness, and BCG initiatives. Looking ahead, Thailand offers 4 priorities for ADB consideration. First, we encourage more investment in cross-border infrastructure and digital connectivity, more investment in connectivity in Greater Mekong sub-region, where significant gaps remain. Second, we urge ADB to scale up support for digital transformation and AI government frameworks, ensuring the transition is inclusive. Third, Thailand calls on ADB to accelerate the mobilization of private capital through brand finance and credit enhancement instruments, as private investment will be the primary driver of our connected future. We also underscore the critical need to integrate a nature-positive approach and nature-based solution as a foundation framework for all future development strategies. Lastly, we encourage ADB to further consider developing tailored financial products for upper middle income members. Thailand stands ready to strengthen this partnership as we move toward a more connected, resilient, and prosperous Asia and the Pacific. Thank you, Chair.
I thank the Governor for Thailand, and I call on the Governor for Taipei, China. Please.
Mr. Chairperson of Board of Governors, President Kanda, Honorable Governors, distinguished guests, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to the government of Uzbekistan for their excellent arrangements and warm hospitality in hosting this annual meeting in Samarkand. We would like to commend President Kanda and administration team for their hard work over the past year. We also congratulate the ADB on the successful passage of its first charter amendment, a pioneering initiative that will meaningfully expand the bank's operational capacity and provide robust support for its mission. Looking ahead, we welcome ADB's continued efforts to strengthen our cooperation with the private sector and mobilize more private capital to drive sustainable economic growth. We applaud ADB for listening to the voices of DMCs and optimizing its procurement directive. We are confident that the extensive adoption of the merit point criteria, along with more transparent, fair, and flexible messaging, will enable DMCs in greatest need, particularly small island developing states, to access higher quality infrastructure and services. We also commend the inclusion of local capacity building in the procurement framework, as this is a crucial driver for the long-term development of these nations. Furthermore, we recognize the ADB Asia-Pacific Tax Hub for its efforts in promoting domestic resource mobilization. This initiative strengthens the fiscal resilience and self-reliance of DMCs, while optimizing their tax systems and administrations to achieve the vision of sustainable development. We noticed the share of ADB operations promoting gender equality has increased from 50% in 2023 to 71% in 2025. We value the ADB for its commitment to women's empowerment, particularly through its investments in social protection, education, and healthcare systems. These efforts reflect a clear recognition that empowering women is essential for driving economic growth and enhancing regional resilience. As a founding member of the ADB, we have fulfilled all our membership obligations and responsibility and share the same goals as the ADB. As such, we would like to continuously and strongly voice our disagreements over the unilateral move to alter our membership designation. We would like to call on the ADB and its members to fully respect all members and ensure that each receives fair treatment and equal opportunities. Thank you, Chair.
I thank the Governor for Taipei, China, and I call on the Governor for Netherlands, please.
Thank you, Chair. Dear Chair, President Kanda, distinguished governors and excellencies. The Kingdom of the Netherlands wants to extend its sincere appreciation to the government of Uzbekistan, the ADB, and all those who've worked so hard behind the scenes to make this event possible. Sizga Ming Ramat. We meet at a time of increasing global complexity, with challenges not only persisting, but also intensifying. Ongoing and rising conflicts and crises, the growing impacts of climate change, rising inequality, and an uncertain geopolitical landscape are putting pressure on international cooperation. In this context, the role of effective, efficient, and resilient multilateral institutions is more important than ever. The Netherlands appreciates ADB's commitment to strengthening collaboration with other MDBs to address global challenges more effectively, including through initiatives such as the Full Mutual Reliance Framework. We encourage ADB to continue adapting its strategies to meet the evolving needs of its member states while prioritizing inclusivity, resilience, sustainable development, and equal opportunities for all. We highly value ADB's work on key priorities such as food security, health, and water, where close partnerships with leading Dutch institutions have been developed. To further enhance the bank's development impact, we would like to highlight 4 key points. First, as many others have already noted, we deem strong and effective governance to be essential. Open and inclusive decision-making processes are key to maintaining trust and ensuring that the bank remains responsive to the needs of its members. We need bank management and its president to engage in transparency, inclusivity, and timely consultation with shareholders and their board of directors. Second, as the bank scales up its operations, particularly in the private sector, effective oversight is critical. This requires robust systems to anticipate and manage risks, including integrity and corruption concerns. Third, in line with, amongst others, Germany, Malaysia, and the Nordic countries, we feel the ADB should remain ambitious on climate and continue its alignment with the Paris Agreement while ensuring that standards, including ESG and accountability frameworks, remain robust. We welcome the review of ADB's gender policy as a step to further strengthen impact. And finally, as was also mentioned by the US delegation, graduation remains key to the ADB's long-term sustainability. A differentiated and well-sequenced approach can support countries in their transition while allowing the bank to focus resources where they are most needed. In closing, let me congratulate the ADB for its impressive contribution to accelerating development in Asia and the Pacific. As a founding member, the Netherlands remains a committed and constructive partner to the ADB. The challenges we face are interconnected, but so are the solutions. Thank you.
I thank the governor for Netherlands, and I call on the governor for Bangladesh. Please.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to begin with thanking ADB President for his inspiring speech, for his inspiring message this morning at a challenging time like this. More so for Bangladesh. The Middle East war broke out on the 7th day of the newly elected government of Bangladesh took the office, on the 7th day. That's when Middle East war broke out. So firefighting right from the beginning, in other words. Honorable Chair, we met at a time, as I mentioned just now, of heightened global uncertainty, geopolitical tensions, inflation, tighter financial conditions, and supply chain disruptions are reshaping development trajectories. The conflict in the Middle East has further intensified energy and trade pressures, raising cost and external financing needs. For Bangladesh, this has resulted in an estimated additional $3 billion over in energy-related expenditures. We appreciate ADB's timely budget support for macroeconomic stability and request that counter-cyclical financing instruments remain available should global risks escalate. Bangladesh remains highly vulnerable to climate change. Floods, cyclones, river erosion, salinity intrusion, sea level rise continue to threaten livelihoods and infrastructure. We seek expanded concessional climate finance for adaptation and mitigation, including resilient infrastructure, climate-smart agriculture, disaster risk reduction, nature-based solutions, and carbon markets. We aim to achieve 20% renewable energy by 2030 and request ADB's leadership in the Bangladesh Climate Development Partnership, the first country-led climate platform of its kind in South Asia to advance renewable energy, ecosystem restoration, and river and canal rehabilitation. Bangladesh remains firmly committed to reform-driven development. Our priorities include energy and food security, financial resilience, revenue modernization, connectivity, export diversification, digital transformation, skills, jobs, social protection, and balanced regional development. We deeply value ADB's partnership in infrastructure, energy, transport, education, and institutional development. We also welcome support for regional connectivity through SASEC and wider links among SAARC countries and with ASEAN to strengthen supply chains and expand trade and investment opportunities. Bangladesh continues to host a significant population of forcibly displaced Myanmar nationals on humanitarian grounds. We seek ADB's enhanced support for both displaced populations and host community. Finally, we encourage ADB to support transformative investments that deepen Bangladesh's regional connectivity, modernize infrastructure, ensure energy security, strengthen digital and logistics capacity. These can boost productivity, unlock the potential for our north-south corridors, create jobs in emerging industries, and reduce poverty and regional disparity. Thank you, Chair.
I thank the Governor for Bangladesh, and I call on the Governor for Kazakhstan. Please.
Thank you, Chair. Assalamu alaikum. Dear Ilham Ibrahimovic, dear Masato Kanda, dear governors and participants of the annual meeting of the Asian Development Bank. I would like to thank the Republic of Uzbekistan for their warm welcome and for hosting the annual meeting of the Asian Development Bank. Please allow me to express my appreciation to the President of the ADB, Masato Kanda, for many years of productive cooperation, continuous support, and a strong contribution to the economic development of Kazakhstan. Your recent visit to Kazakhstan gave a new impulse to further develop relations between Kazakhstan and the ADB. A memorandum of understanding was signed between the Minister of National Economy of Kazakhstan and the ADB. The ADB is ready to implement 15 promising projects in Kazakhstan with a total value of more than $5 billion in transport, water resources, and energy. I would like to especially note the ADB's commitment to sustainable development, green growth, and high standards of governance. These approaches are in line with Kazakhstan's priorities within the new Kazakhstan policy and the strategic development plan until 2029. In this regard, cooperation with the ADB becomes especially important in several priority areas. First is the development of transport and logistics potential. Located in the center of Eurasia, Kazakhstan is the largest transit hub in the region. Our country is actively developing the Trans-Caspian International Transport Road. The second important area is sustainable energy and the promotion of the green transition. We highly appreciate the bank's support in developing renewable energy, modernizing energy infrastructure, and introducing environmental standards. These topics were actively discussed at the Regional Ecological Summit in Astana on April this year. We count on further expert and financial support from the bank in implementing these projects. The next area is digitalization. Kazakhstan has become a center for digital solutions. We are improving the legal framework and infrastructure in this field. It is important to note that 2026 has been declared by our President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev as the year of digitalization and artificial intelligence. IDB's support in developing digital technologies is very important. We see strong potential in building data centers and digitalizing transport corridors. We are ready to work together with the ADB on project solutions with high social and economic impact. We are confident that the synergy of national reforms and the bank's strategic priorities will bring our partnership to a new level. We highly value our strategic partnership and look forward to its further expansion for the benefit of sustainable development of Kazakhstan and Central Asia. Thank you for your attention.
I thank the Governor for Kazakhstan, and I call on the Governor for Switzerland, please.
Thank you, Chair. Mr. President, honorable governors, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Switzerland, I would like to thank Uzbekistan for hosting in this historical and beautiful city the annual meeting of IDBs and for the warm hospitality. Switzerland recognizes IDB's important role in promoting Asia's sustainable growth. We support the bank's strategic direction and implementation of agreed priorities. We welcome IDB's increase in lending headroom. This additional capacity must be used for high-quality, impactful, and ESG-compliant projects. And to be effective, it is key that the IDB remains selective by focusing on its area of comparative advantage, such as, for instance, sustainable infrastructure, building on synergies with other partners. I would like to highlight three main areas. First, private sector shift. We fully support the bank focus on private sector, trade, and digital transformation. We also welcome efforts to scale up private capital mobilization. This needs to go hand in hand with a strong commitment to strengthening the enabling environment for the private sector in which predictable regulatory frameworks play a central role. Balancing financial returns with strong additionality is vital to generate tangible development. ADB can play a pivotal role in diversifying supply chain and opening new markets for the private sector. This offers renewed opportunities for collaboration with the Swiss private and financial sector, for example, in areas such as infrastructure, life sciences, and digitalization. With several free trade agreements in place and under negotiation, we see a clear role for ADB in providing technical support and fostering regional integration. Second, MDBs working as a system. We welcome IDB continued efforts to make MDB work better as a system, for example, through the full mutual reliance framework with the World Bank. An effective rule-based multilateral system with accountable MDBs such as the ADB is critical to enabling collective action and delivering results. Third, IDB climate and energy policy and gender ambition. Switzerland expects IDB to uphold a high level of climate ambition and to continue to align with existing international commitments, most notably the Paris Agreement. It is critical that IDB continues to support countries in their energy transition and focus its energy portfolio on renewable energy, energy efficiency, electrification, and related infrastructure. Given the impact of ongoing crisis, this is the right time to strengthen the region's resilience and external shocks. Empowering women and supporting the reduction of gender gaps remain essential to reducing poverty and driving inclusive growth. Let me conclude by confirming that Central Asia is a priority region for Swiss international cooperation, and we will continue to expand our engagement with the countries in partnership with ADBs. We thank the IDB management and staff for their strong engagement in 2025, the good result, and we look forward to a continued close partnership with ADB. Thank you, Chair.
I thank the governor for Switzerland, and I call on the governor for Sri Lanka, please.
Chair of the Board of Governors of ADB, ADB Governor for Uzbekistan, distinguished governors, President Masato Kanda, and ADB Board Directors, head of the delegations, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the government of Uzbekistan and the people's Samarkand for their warm welcome and hospitality, making our stay truly impressive. I am pleased to join this prestigious event in this beautiful country and delighted to be here in this historical city of Samarkand. We are grateful to ADB for the support extended to its member countries in Asia and the Pacific, empowering them through various ADB products and also further strengthening the support through several initiatives, including enhanced lending. As we know, the Asia and Pacific region countries to face many challenges, and rebounding from constant shocks is not that easy. Therefore, we need to design new strategies, jointly tackle future issues and risks posed by various challenges such as inequity and poverty, along with dangers arising from climate devastation, while paying attention uncertainties in region due to volatile commodity prices, reducing the impact of climate changes for poor and vulnerable people in Asia Pacific region who contribute comparatively little to global carbon emission should be a main focus in our development path. I take this opportunity to appreciate ADB commitment in climate finance to help the regions developing economics reduce their carbon footprint and mitigate the impact of climate change. Further, I believe ADB as a regional development bank has a major role to play, preparing members to face the global development challenges, providing adequate and updated knowledge and expertise to comfort these problems and ensure sustainable development in an inclusive and balanced environment. Many of developing member countries find difficulties to move in adhere parallel to the global trend in backdrop of rapidly accelerating technological changes. Country-focused approaches to match the global development agenda has to promote through sovereign and non-sovereign operation of ADB. The government of Sri Lanka is thankful to ADB to the assistance and guidance provided to Sri Lanka in country's economic recovery process as well as in the economic stabilization process and for being massive strength to us throughout our most difficult phase in 2022. Back-to-back shocks and some policy missteps degenerated the macroeconomic conditions, resulting in major hardship across all sectors of the economy and society as a whole. Sri Lanka took decisive remedial measures during the last 4 years and decided to undertake difficult yet necessary reform as corrective measures to emerge from unbearable economic crisis. We entered into 4 years extend fund facility within IMF in March 2023 that supported our reform program along with reform programs supported by the ADB and the World Bank. The reform that have been put in place by government during the past 3 years have been able to restore a significant level of stabilization of the economy. The improved macroeconomic conditions are visible in terms of improved physical conditions, recovery of foreign exchange reserve, improved external balances as evident in the current account surplus and appreciation of the currency, and rapid decline in inflation to single-digit levels. In this backdrop, the assistance being provided by the ADB, several reform areas that the government has identified in instrument in the country's stabilization measures and setting the stage of economic recovery and growth. Further, the government of Sri Lanka is deeply grateful to the ADB for timely emergency assistance following the impact of Cyclone Ditwa, as that critical junctions, a grant $3 million was provided under the Assistance Pacific Disaster Response Fund to support the Cyclone Ditwa emergency post-disaster recovery activities. In addition to ADB is currently in the process of extending emergency financial assistance of US $200 million for post-cyclone reconstruction activities in the transport, agriculture, and irrigation and housing sectors. In concluding, I wish to assure fullest cooperation of Sri Lanka to achieve ADB vision and expect ADB to continue to play its catalytic role as a financing as well as knowledge partner for our region, maximizing the development impact of ADB through support in strategic interaction with the members and strengthening collaboration with member countries. Thank you very much.
I thank the Governor for Sri Lanka, and I call on the Governor for Hong Kong, China. Please.
Chair, President Kanda, fellow governors, ladies and gentlemen, I'm very delighted to join you all today in this jewel city of the Silk Road, Samarkand, for the 59th annual meeting of the ADB. We are gathering here today to translate our shared ambitions into coordinated action. Just now, in this morning's speech, the President highlighted 6 initiatives that ADB is going to embark. And in response, and also in the interest of time, we will provide 2 areas where Hong Kong, China can contribute. Both coincidentally start with the letter or alphabet G. The first G I want to highlight is about green and sustainability. By embedding sustainability throughout our financial ecosystem, we are committed to directing capital towards a resilient future with positive social and also environmental impact. Last year, the volume of green and sustainable bonds arranged in Hong Kong, China amounted to around $38 billion US, accounting for almost 40% of the regional total. On sustainability reporting, we launched a roadmap on sustainability disclosure 2 years ago, and right now we are confirmed as among the initial set of jurisdictions having set a target of fully adopting the International Financial Reporting Standards, Sustainability Disclosure Standards, by the year 2028. And on that front, our green ecosystem is always a partner for ADB for use, be it in a conventional bond issuance or even in tokenized bonds. Another G I want to highlight in terms of areas that Hong Kong can contribute to ADB, apart from green, is the word gold. We have a comprehensive engagement plan to deepen our participation in the region, especially in recent years amid rising geopolitical tensions and also increasing global demand for gold. There's increasing need, as we see, for countries and also corporates to diversify their asset allocation into precious metal. In this regard, we are determined to develop a world-class international gold market covering storage, clearing, and also trading. And against this backdrop, we are open and also ready to engage open dialogue with various economies and countries in the region to build a more connected, efficient, and also innovative gold ecosystem, at the same time unlocking new opportunities. Echoing the President's remarks about crossroads for progress, we definitely should see these crossroads at the same time to turn these crossroads into inroads, into resilience. Hong Kong, China is always ready as an international financial center and also as an innovative financial center to facilitate ADB members to turn their ambition into action. At the same time, to ensure the region's connected future is sustainable, resilient, and also equitable for the generations to come. Thank you, Chairman.
I thank the Governor for Hong Kong, China, and I call on the Governor for Azerbaijan. Please.
Honorable Chair, President Kanda, esteemed governors, I feel privileged to address this distinguished gathering at the 59th annual meeting of the Board of Governors of ADB. On behalf of Azerbaijan, I would like to express my sincere appreciation to the government and people of Uzbekistan for their warm hospitality, as well as to commend the excellent organizational arrangements made by ADB and the host government for this meeting. In 2025, ADB achieved significant milestones, committing a total of $29.3 billion across a wide range of financial instruments, including loans, grants, equity investments, guarantees, and technical assistance. This represents a 20% increase compared to 2024, showing ADB's strong operational scale-up. ADB investments in the finance sector increased significantly, reaching $7.3 billion. These reforms aim at strengthening financial systems, deepen capital markets, and enhance financial inclusion, particularly for micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises. At the same time, ADB's support for urban infrastructure and services remains substantial at $2.1 billion, focusing on improving key elements of sustainable and inclusive urban development. ADB's continued emphasis on quality infrastructure, digital transformation, and regional connectivity has been particularly important. The bank's efforts to strengthen food security, energy resilience, and fiscal sustainability across its developing member countries are both timely and commendable. Mr. Chair, as you are aware, several years ago, Azerbaijan liberated its territories that had been under occupation for more than 30 years. Under the leadership of President Aliyev, Azerbaijan is implementing the ambitious Great Return Program, aimed at restoring and reconstructing these territories and facilitating the return of internally displaced persons to their homelands. This comprehensive effort includes a large-scale demining activities across the economic regions of Karabakh and East Zangezur, alongside the development of essential physical and social infrastructure to support the repatriation process. We are encouraged by the progress achieved in the normalization process and establishment of de facto peace between Azerbaijan and Armenia, and we believe that further necessary steps enabling the finalization of the process will significantly contribute to lasting peace and stability in our region. Azerbaijan remains firmly committed to the global climate agenda. Hosting COP29 in Baku in 2024 marked a significant milestone for our country and the wider region. The conference delivered important outcomes in advancing climate finance, strengthening adaptation measures, and accelerating the global energy transition. Azerbaijan will continue to build on this momentum, working closely with international partners, including ADB, to translate these commitments into tangible results. Recent global and regional developments highlighted the growing importance of the Middle Corridor initiative, in which Azerbaijan plays a vital role. The corridor's strategic value as a reliable and efficient trade route has become increasingly evident. It provides an opportunity to diversify trade flows and mitigate global disruptions. Esteemed governors, as we look ahead, it's essential that ADB continues to enhance its responsiveness, flexibility, and innovation. Strengthening support for policy-based operations, expanding technical assistance, and ensuring competitive financing terms will be key to maintain banks' strong value proposition. ADB's comparative advantage lies not only in its financial resources, but also in its knowledge, expertise, and ability to convene partnerships. We encourage the bank to further leverage these strengths in addressing increasingly complex and interconnected development challenges. In conclusion, I would like to wish President Kanda and the entire ADB team every success in advancing sustainable, inclusive, and resilient growth across the region. Thank you for your attention.
I thank the Governor for Azerbaijan. Fellow governors, I would like to clarify that the Asian Development Bank doesn't interfere in the political affairs of any member, nor is it influenced in its decisions by the political character of the member concerned. Now I call on the Governor for Georgia, please.
Thank you, Chair. Esteemed President Kanda, honorable governors, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank the dedicated team of ADB and the government of the Uzbekistan for organizing this important event and hosting us in magnificent Samarkand. The 59th annual meeting of ADB offers a prime platform for dialogue, for networking and forging the partnership to focus on crossroads of progress amid never-ending global uncertainties. Across the globe, we are navigating an era defined by overlapping crises and rapid transformation. While benefiting from the unprecedented advantages of technology, advancement of technology and innovations, global geopolitics continue to lead to economic uncertainty, technological disruption, and social inequality. These challenges are interconnected, reinforcing one another in ways that demand coordinated and thoughtful responses. The countries of our region, whether we call it the Silk Road or Karek-2 Middle Corridor or Trans-Caspian Road, have been trained in resilience for centuries, and it's being realized that the current challenges need the resilient efforts to be made collectively. Georgia has made steadily progress toward its strategic objectives, completing core infrastructure of East-West Highway, bolstering middle corridor connectivity, and has a strong agenda of further enhancement of the road, rail, energy and digital connectivity, and energy security and independence. The economy of Georgia has been growing on average about 9.3% for the past 5 years, while bringing all the fiscal parameters to the safe levels and keeping capital expenditures at high 7-8% of GDP. Georgia enjoys a successful partnership with the ADB through our diversified portfolio valued approximately $6 billion across public and private sectors. We look forward to deepening this cooperation in Georgia's key priority area further. As the 20 years anniversary of our partnership approaches, enhancing the connectivity, we are expanding the rail and road connectivity, green and renewable generation, battery storage for energy independence and security, improved transmission connectivity, including the forthcoming Black Sea submarine cable project. The theme of this year's annual meeting captures both our opportunity and our responsibility. The strength of our connections will determine the resilience of our economies, the inclusiveness of our growth, and sustainability of our progress. The challenges before us are complex, but with the shared purpose and coordinated actions, complexity turns into an opportunity for innovation, for reforms, and so for building a more resilient future. Thank you.
I thank the Governor for Georgia, and I call on the Governor for Austria, please.
Thank you, Chair, Mr. President, distinguished governors, ladies and gentlemen. It's really my great pleasure to address the Board of Governors of this year's annual meeting of the ADB here in Uzbekistan, a country with ever-growing trade links with Austria, as well as a shared love of music. This is evidenced by the recent performance of the National Symphony Orchestra of Uzbekistan and the honored choir of the Republic of Uzbekistan in our capital, Vienna. Ladies and gentlemen, this year, the scale of the Middle East war and its repercussions on global commodity and energy prices, supply chains, and credit conditions have aggravated the downside risks for economies, particularly in Asia and the Pacific. Globally, the effects of conflicts and climate change result in adverse economic circumstances. In this context, Austria welcomes the timely and targeted financial support package the ADB has announced. Having said that, the battle against climate change will be won or lost in Asia, and it's not lost yet. If the region swiftly transitions towards clean energy, resilient high-quality infrastructure, nature-based solutions, and inclusive and sustainable growth, it has the potential to be a global leader in many areas. The choices made today and in the coming years will define the shared future, not only for Asia and the Pacific, but globally. Against these various challenges, MDBs such as the ADB have the means to act counter-cyclically. Quoting Winston Churchill, "Never let a crisis go to waste," Austria calls on the ADB to increase its efforts with regards to climate finance. More renewable energy projects, such as hydropower plants, stable transmission networks, and energy storage solutions are key to greater independence from volatile and unsustainable supply chains. More sustainable Transport projects, such as railways, are needed to offer reliable and climate-friendly pathways for cargo between Asia and Europe via the Middle Corridor. Let us choose multilateralism over national divide and long-term strategic vision over short-term thinking. For this shared objective, we need a strong ADB with a diverse workforce dedicated to achieving high-quality results in a fast-paced environment. A well-governed bank, which can be one of the leading institutions on the continent when it comes to addressing the challenges of the region and protect global public goods. A bank with a strong and robust environmental and social framework and fit-for-purpose accountability mechanism. A bank which is a true leader in sustainability and knowledge, not only in the region, but beyond. Thank you very much.
I thank the Governor for Austria, and I call on the Governor for Belgium, please.
Dear Chairperson, Governors, ADB President, Your Excellencies, on behalf of the ADB Governor for Belgium, I sincerely thank the government of Uzbekistan for the excellent organization of this annual meeting. Rama. Mr. Kanda, we congratulate you on your leadership, and we are firm on commitment to ADB mission, Strategy 2030, its midterm review, and the corporate result framework. Belgium commends ADB for its swift and agile support to developing member countries in response to current geopolitical situation and related shocks. Greater flexibility must, however, go hand in hand with appropriate transparency, accountability, and oversight. ADB support should remain strategic, underpinned by appropriate safeguard and tailored conditionality, in close coordination with peer MDBs and the IMF, with a view to promoting inclusive and sustainable growth. We welcome ADB's strong operational performance in 2025. That said, greater ambition must remain anchored in financial prudence, stronger selectivity, development result and impact, and systematic learning from past operation. ADB should focus where its comparative advantage and additionality are greatest, in complementarity with peers MDBs. We welcome the full mutual reliance framework with the World Bank and encourage further collaboration and harmonization across MDBs to reduce fragmentation, duplication, and administrative burdens. We also support stronger domestic resource mobilization, intensify private sector mobilization, and a strengthened one ADB approach to deepen synergy between sovereign and non-sovereign operation to enable a coherent, predictable, and business-friendly environment. Particular attention should be also given to SITS and FCAS. Belgium supports a technological neutral and economically sound energy transition that safeguards energy security and competitiveness. We acknowledge the updated energy policy and recognize nuclear energy as a contributor to a diversified energy mix. We also welcome progress on critical minerals, where ADB can promote transparent resource development, local value addition, reduce dependencies, and strengthen resilient and diversified supply chains. We welcome recent procurement reform and the shift toward value for money throughout the project cycle to maximize development impact. Further MDB alignment, capacity building, and robust monitoring will be essential to translate these reforms into concrete implementation. ADB must deliver more through institutional efficiency, budget discipline, prudent workforce growth, and rigorous expenditure management, all closely linked to operational priorities. This is particularly important for ADB credibility at a time where all shareholders are enforcing strict budget discipline and making significant fiscal efforts. Finally, we stress the importance of good governance, transparency, accountability, and effective communication. Constructive engagement with the board and all ADB shareholders remain essential to strategic guidance and sound decision-making. Thank you.
I thank the Governor for Belgium. Governors, we will be having a 5-minute break. After the break, the Governor for Uzbekistan, the Honorable James Hajayev, will take the chair. Thank you.
For Ireland, please. Thank you, Chairman. I wish to begin by expressing our appreciation to President Kanda, senior management and the entire ADB staff for their professionalism, dedication and commitment to the bank's mission. Your collective efforts continue to make a tangible difference across the Asia and Pacific. We thank you for your efforts. We also extend our sincere thanks to the government and people of Uzbekistan for their efficient organisation and warm hospitality in hosting this annual meeting in an inspiring historical city. We find ourselves again at a crossroads, and choices that we make now will shape economic resilience, social cohesion and environmental sustainability for future generations. Connectivity remains critical for shared prosperity. Investment in this area must be broad, modern and inclusive. Strengthening physical, digital and social connectivity across urban and rural areas requires smart, resilient, climate-adaptive infrastructure that enables trade, innovation and economic diversification. In this regard, we strongly welcome the President's announcement of the significant investments in the Pan-Asia Power Grid and the Asia-Pacific Digital Highway. Innovation and digital transformation are powerful enablers of connectivity and growth. In particular, digital technologies can improve productivity, expand access to services, strengthen governance and create new economic opportunities, especially for young people and small enterprises. However, bridging the digital divide must remain a priority for the bank, ensuring that all countries and communities can benefit, not just a few. In addition, the ADB's key role in mobilising finance, strengthening public-private partnerships and deploying innovative financing instruments is critical to close infrastructure gaps and help foster stronger ties between economies across the region. An increased role for the private sector is critical in this regard. Gender equality is fundamental to sustainable development. Women are powerful drivers of growth, innovation and resilience across families, communities and economies. However, persistent gaps in access to finance, education, employment and leadership continue. We call on the bank to further embed gender equality across all operations, ensuring that women and girls have equal opportunities to contribute to and benefit from such developments. This is not only a moral imperative, but also a proven economic strategy that strengthens long-term productivity, resilience and growth. In this regard, we look forward to the upcoming review and update of the bank's gender policy that can take these issues on board. Food security remains an urgent challenge across our region, as can be seen from the impact of the current developments in the Gulf on food production and food availability. In these cases, the greatest burden falls on the most vulnerable people. ADB's support for sustainable agriculture, rural development and nutrition is critical. Investments must be scaled up in climate-smart agriculture, innovative farming practices and regional cooperation to strengthen resilience, boost productivity and advance self-sufficiency. Over recent years, the ADB has advanced green investment, renewable energy and climate adaptation, helping to guide member countries towards a low-carbon future, and we commend your work on this. Continued efforts to mobilise climate finance, promote knowledge sharing and strengthen public-private partnerships are essential in meeting our climate goals. This also ensures a just and inclusive transition for those adversely impacted by either climate change or unnecessary policy interventions to address the problems created by this growing challenge across the region. Small island developing states face unique and significant vulnerabilities. Significant and bespoke investment and technical assistance in climate adaptation and enhanced project preparation are critical for them. Efforts in this area must continue at pace and scale to make a real difference on the ground. We urge the bank to further strengthen its crisis response capacity with related risk management and engagement with member countries on these matters. Our collective response must be guided by the principle of leaving no one behind. The bank's recent response to the impact of the Gulf crisis on energy, trade and inflation clearly shows its experience in tackling crisis on a timely, targeted and temporary basis. We support a renewed focus on graduation. This ensures that scarce resources are targeted at areas of greatest needs, such as SIDS, FCAS and poverty alleviation, rather than upper middle income countries who already have access to multiple sources of funding. This will also help strengthen our arguments for continued support for the ADB and more importantly the ADF with ministers, parliament and taxpayers. We commend the ADB for its collaborative approach and encourage continued efforts to deepen cooperation and alignment. Strong partnerships across government, civil society, the private sector and development partners are essential in this regard. Finally, we highlight the vital role of the Board of Executive Directors. Close engagement between the management and the board under the leadership of the President on strategic reforms and priorities is fundamental to good governance, transparency and institutional effectiveness. Today's complex environment requires clarity of purpose and effective action. Based on its expertise and experience, the ADB can ably demonstrate strong leadership reinforcing confidence in the multilateral system and providing strategic direction and practical, credible action across the entire Asian Pacific region. Thank you for your attention, Chair, and back to you.
I thank the Governor for an island. I now call on the Governor for Luxembourg.
Thank you, Chair. On behalf of the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg, let me express our gratitude to the Republic of Uzbekistan and its people for the gracious hospitality and the organization of this successful annual meeting in illustrious Samarkand, at the crossroads of ancient civilizations. We would like to congratulate the bank's management and staff for the strong results achieved in 2025 and the focus on delivering development impact. The Asian Development Bank plays a critical role as trusted partner for Asia and the Pacific, and this role is particularly important in today's more volatile environment, in light of the negative spillover effects from the Middle East conflict. We welcome ADB's rapid response to alleviate the effects on the countries and the strategic direction the bank is giving and today's regional solutions announced this morning. We commend the implementation of the CAF reforms and the bank's strong focus on capacity to deliver at scale, resilience, sustainable infrastructure and renewable energy, financial and digital frameworks, and private sector development. As highlighted by President Kanda this morning, constraints in private sector development are not in capital. They are in enabling environments, which are essential to develop business conduciveness and create jobs. We believe that enabling environments need sound macroeconomic management, targeted regulation, the rule of law, and well-functioning financial and payment systems. In addition to enabling environments, financial inclusion remains a major challenge in Asia-Pacific, with hundreds of millions of people still lacking access to basic financial services. Without access to savings, credits, or payment systems, people cannot invest in education, manage risks, or develop economic activities to get out of poverty. Strengthening financial inclusion is therefore essential to unlock opportunities and support sustainable growth. And without financial inclusion, there are no lasting social cohesion. Well-functioning systems, deeper capital markets, and domestic resource mobilization are key to channeling resources to productive investment and support economic growth. Since joining the bank in 2003, Luxembourg has been a consistent and engaged partner with a strong focus on financial sector development. The Grand Duchy of Luxembourg remains firmly committed to multilateral cooperation, allocating 1% of its GNI to official development assistance annually, with a strong focus on eradicating extreme poverty. Luxembourg believes in the transformative nature of finance and supports the ADB in this endeavor through the Financial Sector Development Partnership Special Fund, supporting financial infrastructure, regulatory frameworks, and access to finance. Sustainable development in Asia and the Pacific requires a combination of stability, growth, resilience, inclusivity, and innovation. The ADB has a role to play in delivering impact through partnerships by upholding strong governance and transparency and fair and quality procurement practices. The bank has an important role this year as chair of the heads of MDBs. We strongly welcome efforts in strengthening institutional collaboration, mobilizing private capital at scale through catalytic initiatives, and enhancing development impact. At a time marked by increasing fragmentation and uncertainty, now is the moment to act together and reaffirm our shared commitment to multilateralism. Thank you.
I thank the Governor for Luxembourg, and I now call on the Governor for the Republic of Portugal.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable President Kanda, distinguished governors, dear guests. I wish to begin by expressing our gratitude to the government of Uzbekistan and its people for its warm hospitality in hosting the ADB annual meeting. Portugal has always been a strong supporter of multilateralism, and in an increasingly complex global environment, we are more convinced than ever of its vital role as well as ADB relevance in such a context. We are pleased to hear that ADB is ready to support DMCs in tackling the impact of conflict in the Middle East. We can encourage a focus on the most impacted country, and that budget support is accompanied by reforms contributing to increase resilience. We'd like to stress the significant finance needs that the region faces for renewable energy to ensure energy security and affordability and integrate and resilient power grids. We encourage ADB to continue pursuing high ambition on the climate agenda. Cooperation and regional integration and strengthening of regional ties are of paramount importance, and we hope to see further efforts in this area. We note the need for ADB to develop the necessary expertise to promote digital transformation and to be well placed to support DMCs in an inclusive manner, including digital infrastructure, data flows and governance, cybersecurity, and e-government. We congratulate the bank for its achievements in 2025, including the record high total commitments and strong financial performance. We also welcome the high level of climate finance and growth of a non-sovereign portfolio. These efforts are vital to addressing the regional development challenge, and we encourage the bank to sustain the ambition in the years ahead. The change to procurement directive are a promising step forward towards ensuring projects focus on quality and sustainability. Ensuring that clients have the necessary capacity to handle the new rules is key. We should seize the landmark year of the 60th anniversary to reflect on how the institution can be further strengthened and its impact deepened. ADB should maintain strong ambition in food security, water and sanitation, disaster risk management and adaptation, gender equality and inclusion of vulnerable groups, private capital mobilization and capital markets developments, and domestic resource mobilization and debt management. The successful and effective delivery of its mission requires ADB financially robust and grounded in transparency and accountability principles and strict budget discipline. We believe that further progress is needed and strengthened operational effectiveness and efficient through business process reform to ensure agility and responsiveness to members' evolving needs. As I conclude, allow me to reaffirm Portugal's continued support for ADB mission. Thank you.
I thank the Governor for the Republic of Portugal. I now call on the Governor for the Republic of Singapore.
Thank you, Chair. I'm delivering remarks on behalf of our Governor, Minister Indrani Raja, who has had to return to Singapore early. Let me first congratulate the ADB on the successful organization of the 59th annual meeting and thank our host, Uzbekistan, for the hospitality here in Samarkand. We meet at a time when global challenges and trade frictions weigh heavily on all of us. As many have noted, these headwinds dampen growth and stability, making this year's theme, Crossroads of Progress, Advancing the Regional Connected Future, especially relevant. We need even more multilateral cooperation to address our shared challenges. In this regard, Singapore commends the ADB for its initiatives under the strong leadership of President Kanda. This includes a commitment of up to US $10 billion to Southeast Asia's long-term energy needs, and partnering with the World Bank through the ASEAN Power Grid Financing Initiative, and a highly responsive initiative through the Trade and Supply Chain Finance Program for those most affected by recent disruptions because of the situation in the Middle East. We're also glad that ADB has deepened its collaboration with Singapore to deliver greater impact for its client countries. For example, issuing new disaster relief bonds supporting the Kyrgyz Republic and Tajikistan, and developing climate-resilient infrastructure for the region. Singapore stands ready to work with the ADB and all development partners to strengthen regional cooperation and advance a rules-based order for the continued prosperity of our region. Thank you.
Thank you. I thank the Governor for the Republic of Singapore, and I now call the Governor for the United Kingdom. Kingdom of Spain.
Thank you very much, Chair. And let me begin by thanking our host for the warm welcome that we have received and their and for receiving us in this magnificent setting, for their hospitality. And also, I would like to thank the ADB management and staff for the excellent preparation of these annual meetings. Our meeting takes place in a critical juncture for the global economy, in a context of heightened uncertainty, we are in an increasingly complex environment. It is our duty to protect the most vulnerable economies. And for this, we count on strong, modern, and transparent multilateral institutions. And we reaffirm our strong support for an open, rules-based multilateral system in which cooperation remains essential to address our shared challenges. In this respect, we commend ADB's leadership as chair of the Multilateral Development Bank's head group in 2026. We believe that in this uncertain environment, MDBs need to stand together and coordinate effectively to address the common challenges. And the theme of this meeting is inspiring. We welcome the two flagship initiatives announced in the areas of energy and digital, both areas of great interest for Spain, and we remain committed to support the ADB in this respect, because as we know with our experience in the EU, connectivity is key to unlock an inclusive and sustainable growth. And maximizing development impact is more important than ever in a context of a constrained fiscal space. We would like to congratulate the ADB's strong operational performance in 2025 with a record level of commitments besides the year of COVID, and with the continued progress in scaling up climate finance. We would like to encourage the ADB to maintain its ambition in the climate finance targets, and to maintain an approach towards being selective and prioritizing the projects so that resources are directed where they have the greatest impact. On institutional effectiveness, we would like to welcome the adoption of ADB's new procurement directive, which represents an important step forward. Also, the launch of the assessment framework on value for money in procurement. We encourage the ADB to maintain this momentum. And in addition, we would like to highlight that maintaining fiscal discipline remains critical, so we encourage a prudent approach to the budget, to budget management, to make the most of scarce resources. All this within an appropriate governance and oversight with transparency, and we would like to encourage you to reach out to us. You will find in us engaged partners. Let me close by reaffirming Spain's continued commitment to the ADB, and with the objective of an inclusive, resilient, and sustainable prosperity for Asia and the Pacific. Thank you.
I thank the Governor for the Spain, and I now call on the Governor for the Republic of Turkey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Mr. President, dear Governors. It's a pleasure to be in the ancient city of Samarkand, one of the treasures of Central Asia. We extend our sincere appreciation to the government of Uzbekistan and the ADB for the excellent organization. At a time when the global economy is facing multiple challenges, ADB's role as a leading MDB is more critical than ever. Let me share a few observations. First, we commend ADB for its strong operational and financial performance. In 2025, total operations reached $29.3 billion, marking a notable 20% increase. As Turkey, we are pleased to contribute to the bank's success through our first projects. Second, we are encouraged by the significant progress in private sector financing. The bank should further integrate this priority with a one-stop shop perspective. Third, we welcome the ADB's proactive approach is paying off in addressing global and regional shocks. In line with G20 recommendations, the lifting of statutory constraints have helped increase annual approvals to $30 billion. Fourth, we encourage the bank to develop a new approach to upper middle-income countries. This should remain flexible and tailored to country-specific circumstances to maximize impact. Fifth, it is essential that ADB's human resource management continues to evolve in tandem with its operational priorities. We also support the expansion of field presence and the empowerment of country offices. Finally, as Turkey will assume the presidency of COP31 in Antalya in November 2026, we welcome ADB's role in co-leading MDB engagement. We aim to deliver an implementation-focused COP that translates the commitments into measurable results. In conclusion, Turkey remains fully committed to enhancing this partnership with ADB and turning our shared vision into tangible outcomes. Thank you.
I thank the Governor for the Republic of Turkey, and I now call on the Governor for the Republic of Armenia.
Honorable President Kanda, dear Mr. Khojaev, distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, let me first of all express my gratitude to Uzbekistan government for hosting ADB's annual meeting in beautiful city as Samarkand is. It's a pleasure to meet in Samarkand, a city that has served as a center for trade and connectivity for centuries. Today's theme, Crossroads of Progress, aligns perfectly with Armenia's economic vision. Last year, in this same session, we voiced our strong commitment to peace as a prerequisite for development. Today, following up on those commitments, I am pleased to record the tangible achievements, including a pre-signed peace agreement between Armenia and Azerbaijan in favor of regional stability. This is the logic behind our Crossroads of Peace project to transform the South Caucasus into a hub of cooperation by unblocking regional infrastructure and transportation based on the principles of sovereignty and reciprocity from which the whole region could benefit. However, to ensure this transition, we recognize that our financial cooperation instruments must also undergo transformation. Traditional models alone are no longer sufficient to meet our ambitious goals. Consequently, Armenia is prioritizing the integration of more sophisticated financial engineering into our cooperation agenda. Specifically, we are focusing on the engagement of private financing and the public-private partnership framework. We are also actively exploring debt-for-nature swaps, which allow us to redirect debt service payments toward vital environmental conservation and green projects. The approach is directly aligned with the UN Sustainable Development Goals, the ADB country partnership strategy for Armenia, and the priorities of Armenian government. These efforts ensure that our economic growth remains resilient and sustainable for future generations. President Kanda, the realization of the vision requires the ADB's continued involvement and support, not only as a trusted financial partner of our massive infrastructure agenda, like the North-South corridor, but also as a knowledge and development partner in implementing these new financial solutions. Distinguished colleagues, in conclusion, Armenia stands ready to serve as a vital link at this crossroads of progress. We are committed to continue working closely with ADB and all member states to ensure that our infrastructure projects deliver tangible economic results and contribute to a more integrated, stable, and efficient regional network, which is in its turn will improve the life of our people. Thank you for your attention.
I thank the Governor for the Republic of Armenia. I now call on the Governor for the Republic of Tajikistan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, Your Excellency President Kanda, ladies and gentlemen. Let me begin by thanking the government of Uzbekistan and the Asian Development Bank for the excellent organization of this meeting and for the warm hospitality. The Republic of Tajikistan highly values its partnership with the Asian Development Bank and appreciates its continued support for projects that are important for our sustainable development. In the context of ongoing global challenges, including economic uncertainty, conflicts, climate change, and digital transformation, the Asian Development Bank remains a reliable and strategic partner for sustainable development. Mr. President, the National Development Strategy of the Republic of Tajikistan for the period up to 2030 focuses on attracting investment, promoting industrial development, increasing the promotion of goods and services, for export and import substitution, and strengthening the role of private investment as a key factor of sustainable economic growth. It's encouraging that the new country partnership strategy of Asian Development Bank for Tajikistan for 2026 to 2030 reflects our national priorities for sustainable development with a special focus on Rohun hydropower plant project. The government of Tajikistan continues to deepen regional cooperation by implementing major infrastructure projects in transport and energy sectors. In this regard, we appreciate the Asian Development Bank's role in financing initiatives that promote regional integration across Central Asia. The ongoing conflict in the Middle East is causing geopolitical tensions, market volatility, and supply chain disruption. Therefore, our region needs stronger support from international financial institutions to sustain stability, improve reforms, and strengthen economic resilience. We look forward to the bank's continued support in mitigating the impact of these challenges of our economy. In conclusion, we value our cooperation with the Asian Development Bank and remain committed to further strengthening this partnership. Thank you for your attention.
I thank the Governor for the Republic of Tajikistan, and I now call on the Governor for the Federal Democratic Republic of Nepal.
Mr. Chair, President Mr. Kanda, Honorable Governors, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I extend our sincere appreciation to the government and people of Uzbekistan for their gracious hospitality and for hosting this important gathering in the historic city of Samarkand. Mr. Chair, on behalf of the government of Nepal, I express our deep gratitude to the Asian Development Bank, our largest multilateral development partner, for the steadfast support in Nepal's development. Nepal today is guided by a stable, reform-oriented government with a clear mandate to accelerate economic transformation, attract quality investment, and promote inclusive growth. The new political leadership wishes to have deeper collaboration with the Asian Development Bank and development partners. Nepal recognizes and deeply appreciates the significance of the theme of this annual meeting, Crossroads of Progress, Advancing the Region's Connected Future, and reaffirms its commitment to advancing regional connectivity and shared prosperity. High-impact investment remains Nepal's foremost priority. We seek scale-up investment in hydropower, infrastructure, digital connectivity, agriculture, and tourism. In this context, we encourage ADB to expand innovative financing instruments, including blended finance and non-sovereign operations to mobilize private capital at scale. Nepal welcomes President Kanda's announcement about Pan-Asia Power Grid Initiative. As Nepal has abundant potential of hydropower, we are very keen to have a strong partnership for strengthening renewable and clean energy connectivity in the region. Nepal's geographic position offers strong potential as a transit and trade hub, and we urge accelerated investment on the regional cooperation platform to enhance cross-border infrastructure and logistics. Despite contributing minimally to global emissions, Nepal faces several climate vulnerabilities. We appreciate ADB's enhanced crisis response mechanism and call for more accessible and timely climate financing. Nepal's digital sector is emerging as an important driver of growth and employment. ADB has already engaged with the government of Nepal in strengthening digital infrastructure and digital public infrastructure. We welcome further great collaboration in digital infrastructure, connectivity, and human capital development, particularly in education, health, and skill to support productivity and inclusiveness. Given ongoing fiscal pressure, concessional financing remains essential. We encourage ADB to enhance support under Asian Development Fund and optimize technical assistance to strengthen institutional capacity. We also welcome strengthened collaboration among multilateral development banks, including the Mutual Reliance Framework, and support initiatives that promote knowledge sharing and institutional partnership. We are happy to share you that Nepal has already implemented this FMRF, fully mutual reliance framework between the Asian Development Bank and the World Bank. So in closing, with a clear policy direction and strong commitment, Nepal invites ADB and the partners to deepen engagement through bold initiative and scale-up cooperation. Thank you, Chair.
I think Federal Democratic Republic, I thank the Governor for the Federal Democratic Republic of Nepal, and I now call on the Governor for the Kingdom of Cambodia.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, distinguished Governor, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to express our sincere appreciation to the government of the Republic of Uzbekistan and to the Asian Development Bank for organizing this 59th annual meeting in this legendary city of Samarkand under the theme Crossroads of Progress, Advancing the Region Connected Future. Today, the meaning of crossroad goes far beyond the meaning of road and the exchange of goods. It speaks to a future shaped by deeper development connectivity, particularly through power grid integration, strong digital link, unlocking private capital, and sharper mobilization for development that driven greater opportunity for shared prosperity throughout Asia and the Pacific. I would like to take this opportunity to express our thanks to President Kanda for his leadership and for the announcement about the 70 billion commitment by ADB to support energy infrastructure and digital transformation in Asia. As Cambodia looks ahead, our ambition is clearly set out in our Vision 2050 to become a high-income country. Cambodia continues to play a vital role in supporting this progress. ADB supports Cambodia in improving diversification and strengthening our competitiveness, accelerating private sector-led economic diversification, advancing human capital development, strengthening climate resilience, and improving regional connectivity. In light of the global energy pressure arising from the ongoing Middle East conflict, Cambodia is facing energy crisis, energy price shock, and broader economic consequences, including the renewed trade uncertainty that may compound the economic impact of the Middle East conflict. This together potentially increase downside risk to Cambodia's growth outlook and fiscal position, particularly as we are preparing for the less developed country graduation in 2029. In response to all these challenges, we highly appreciate the ADB for introducing the fast-track budget support under counter-cyclical support facility and for its proactive support in approving Cambodia CSF as a timely and appropriate mechanism to mitigate economic shock. During a period of heightened uncertainty, ADB CFF support on top of the country allocation is instrumental to protecting our most vulnerable household and affected sector, strengthening our resilience and sustaining Cambodia development progress. In closing, let me reaffirm Cambodia's commitment to work closely with ADB and all development partners to build a more connected, resilient, and prosperous region. At this crossroad of progress, let us work together to turn our shared aspiration into concrete results for the people of Asia and the Pacific. I thank you, Mr. Chair.
I thank the Governor for the Kingdom of Cambodia, and now I call on the Governor for the Mongolia.
Thank you. Your Excellencies, Chair, President Kanda, Governors, ladies and gentlemen, I extend my sincere appreciation to the government and the people of Uzbekistan for their excellent hospitality and organization of this annual meeting in the historic city of Samarkand. I would also like to thank the ADB's management for yesterday's announcement on strengthening electricity grids and digital infrastructure, which is both essential and timely. We meet at a time of heightened global uncertainty, where uncertainty itself has become the new certainty. Geopolitical tensions, evolving trade patterns, supply chain disruptions, fiscal tightening, and shifting global demand are testing resilience across Asia and the Pacific. The recent escalation in the Middle East has further intensified these risks, underscoring the fragility of the global environment and the spillovers through energy prices, inflation, and financial conditions. At the same time, technological advancement, climate-related disruptions are reshaping the development landscape. As we manage near-term risks with prudence, we must also prepare for deeper structural transformation. Against this backdrop, Mongolia maintained macroeconomic resilience in 2025. Growth reached 6.8%, inflation was timed at 7.4%, and foreign exchange reserves rose to record highs. Our sovereign credit rating also reached its highest level in over a decade, providing important buffers. However, the further escalation of external risks this year highlights that past resilience is not sufficient on its own. In an increasingly volatile environment, coordinated and timely support remains essential to safeguard those hard-won gains, protect the most vulnerable, and sustain their development momentum. We therefore welcome the Asian Development Bank's readiness to support its member countries in addressing external shocks. We are also supportive of the bank's emphasis on private sector operations, which closely aligns with Mongolia's development priorities. The private sector remains a key driver of economic growth, employment, and innovation. Advancing effective de-risking mechanism, strengthening project preparation, improving bankability, and enhancing implementation capacity are central to mobilizing private capital at a scale. We are encouraged that the bank's evolving approach is well positioned to support these priorities and translate into tangible market-based solutions. At the same time, global structural shifts are creating new opportunities. Mongolia has significant renewable energy potential and resources critical to the global energy transition. Realizing this potential will require enabling infrastructure, appropriate financing mechanism, and stronger regional cooperation. Climate resilience is equally critical. Mongolia is increasingly affected by water stress, land degradation, and desertification. As the host of the UNCCD COP17 this August, we see this as an opportunity to mobilize finance, innovation, and partnership in support of sustainable land management and nature-based solutions. Mongolia will also host CAREC Ministerial Conference and Business Forum in September and serve as the chair of the CAREC program this year. We view CAREC as a key platform to advance regional connectivity, logistics modernization, trade facilitation, and cross-border investment. In this context, we would welcome enhanced support for domestic and regional capital market development. Deepening and strengthening capital market will be essential to attract private cap investment and reinforcing long-term financial resilience. Looking ahead, Mongolia remains committed to further strengthening its partnership with Asian Development Bank in 4 priority areas: climate adaptation through blended finance, resilient urban and regional infrastructure, private sector financing, and renewable energy, including storage. Ladies and gentlemen, the saying goes, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. The challenges we face today are complex and interconnected, requiring togetherness and collective action. Sustaining inclusive growth will depend on mobilizing both public and private capital, strengthening agile institutions, and deepening regional cooperation. Mongolia remains committed to further deepening its partnership with Asian Development Bank and to all our development partners. Thank you.
I thank the Governor for Mongolia. I now call on the Governor for the Lao People's Democratic Republic.
Honorable Chair, President Kanda, and distinguished governors, excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, representing the government of the Lao PDR, I would like to express our sincere gratitude to our host, the government of Republic of Uzbekistan, and also the ADB for successful organizing of the 59th ASEAN Development Bank annual meeting here in Samarkand. First, also allow me to join other governors in congratulating the ADB for its strong performance in 2025. Now, we are exploring shared vision under the theme Crossroads of Progress, Advancing the Region's Connected Future. So therefore, this meeting marks a crucial moment to enhance regional cooperation, especially with the leadership of ADB in the face of ongoing regional and global economic headwinds. So by prioritizing a more connected future, we are enabling the region to move up the value chain and secure a path toward a long-term sustainable prosperity in ASEAN and the Pacific. In this regard, I would like to express my full support for the 2026 theme and the strategic policy direction it sets forth. We highly appreciate the ADB's focus on connectivity for development through power integration, data for development, while the adoption of AI technology and mobilization of development by strengthening fiscal buffers to support government investment priorities and long-term fiscal sustainability. Most notably, I wish to highlight our anticipation of the ADB's ambition to facilitate cross-border electricity trade and investment within the ASEAN power grid, aimed at bolstering, enhancing grid stability, seizing opportunities for energy security, and accelerating the integration of renewable energy for the sustainable future. This energy transformation is of special significance to the Lao PDR. The shift toward clean energy is a national priority, and where our hydropower abundance allows us to act as a primary source of renewable energy, driving both regional integration and climate goals. So with continued support of ADB and our international partners, we can accelerate the region's sustainable development to achieve. So this, however, we must complement our financial investment with technical and regulatory alignment, moving together toward a fully integrated regional power market. The Lao PDR profoundly appreciates ADB's contribution to support over 6 decades in driving our national socio-economic development, as we are at a memorable milestone this year, having recently commemorated the 60-year anniversary of strategic partnership between Lao PDR and ADB. So finally, I would like to reaffirm the Lao PDR's commitment to the ADBs and its vision, a prosperous, inclusive, resilient, and sustainable development for Asia and Pacific. In this particular, we aim to further strengthen our strategic partnership and endeavor to work together toward the development priority areas, such as promoting green finance, sustainable finance, climate action, infrastructure development in power energy, and regional economic connectivity. So we highly value our strong standing partnership and look forward to continued collaboration to navigate the challenges and uncertainty posed by the global environment. I thank you, Chair.
I thank the Governor for the Lao People's Democratic Republic. I now call the Governor the Democratic Republic of Timor-Leste.
Dear Mr. Chair of the Board of Governors, Mr. President of Asian Development Bank, Honorable Governor, distinguished delegates, on behalf of Timor-Leste, I would like to thank ADB and the government of Uzbekistan for hosting us in the historical Samarkand under the theme Crossroad of Progress, Advancing the Region-Connected Future. This ancient city, a meeting point of civilization along the Great Silk Road, is fitting venue for our discussion on regional cooperation and sustainable development. The theme captures the challenge and opportunity we face. We navigate geopolitical tension, conflict including in the Middle East, fragile supply chain, and persistent inflationary pressure that threaten development gains. Climate change intensify disaster and place fiscal pressure on vulnerable economic. Yet, this crossroads offer an opportunity to reorient towards a greener, more resilient, integrated regional future aligned with ADB vision. For Timor-Leste, a small island nation and Asian newest member, this crossroad is both external and domestic. We are transitioning from petroleum dependency toward a diversified private sector-driven economy, while integrating into regional and global market. Our ASEAN accession marks a strategic shift requiring investment in human capital, infrastructure, institutional capacity, and regional connectivity, areas where ADB support is crucial. Advancing the region-connected future has special meaning for us. Connectivity is multidimensional. Climate resilience, transport linking rural area to market, digital infrastructure, connecting citizen to value chain, reliable green energy, and harmonized regulation, reducing trade barriers. ADB partnership in transport, energy, water, sanitation, and public sector management has built this foundation. We look forward to deepening cooperation to leverage our ASEAN membership and position Timor-Leste as a bridge between Southeast Asia and the wider Pacific. The global environment underscores the need for resilient infrastructure. Our vulnerability to floods, droughts, and coastal erosion demands investment that strengthens resilience and reduces long-term risks. With ADB, we are promoting climate-smart transport, urban resilience, and expand water access for rural community, safeguarding gains and ensuring no one is left behind. Physical connectivity must be complemented by digital and institutional connectivity. We are advancing digital transformation to improve public financial management, service delivery, and transparency. ADB regional experience in digitalization and governance reform provide valuable knowledge as we modernize institutions and build an efficient, accountable state. Current uncertainty highlights the need for regional cooperation and multilateralism. Timor-Leste believes as a rules-based, open international order is essential for sustaining growth. We value ADB's role as a trusted partner, convening countries, mobilizing resources, and supporting collective solutions to climate change, food security, energy transition, and pandemic preparedness. We also welcome ADB alignment with the Paris Agreement and expanded climate finance. For Timor-Leste, mobilizing private investment in renewable energy, agriculture, tourism, small medium enterprise will diversify our economy, create jobs, and reduce poverty. We will work closely with ADB to develop bankable projects and deepen value chain integration as new Asian member. Connectivity is ultimately about people. Investing in education, health, and social protection is indispensable for our young nation, growing population. We see strong potential to expand collaboration in skill development and labor policies. Ensuring our youth are prepared for digital and green transition, reshaping Asia and the Pacific. As we meet in Samarkand, a city symbolizing exchange and cooperation for centuries, we are reminded that our region's strength, diversity, and capacity to work together. For Timor-Leste, being at this crossroad means embracing regional solidarity, learning from neighbors, and contributing as a small but committed partner to a connected, resilient, inclusive Asia and the Pacific. As Asia's newest and smallest member, our niche is being agile, constructive, and forward-looking, championing cooperation, dialogue, and sustainable development. With ADB's support, we are confident that we can turn uncertainty into opportunity and advance connected future benefiting all our people. Thank you.
I thank the Governor for the Democratic Republic of Timor-Leste. I now call on the Governor for the Kingdom of Bhutan.
Thank you, Chair. I bring warm greetings from King Jigme, the government, and the people of Bhutan. I congratulate President Kanda for his strong leadership of Asian Development Bank and thank the government of Uzbekistan for the warm hospitality in the historic city of Samarkand. The theme of this year's annual meeting, Crossroads of Progress, Advancing Region's Connected Future, aptly captures the urgency and opportunity of our time. It reflects the need for Asia and the Pacific to strengthen connectivity across infrastructure, markets, digital systems, and the people to unlock shared prosperity. While the region contributes over 60% of the global growth, significant gaps still remain, with infrastructure financing alone estimated at over $1.7 trillion annually. For developing member countries, this vision goes beyond physical links into building resilient, inclusive, and sustainable connections through shared growth, strong shock resilience, and more equitable developments. Bhutan's long-standing partnership with Asian Development Bank is a significant part of our development journey. Over the last 4 decades, ADB's support has strengthened our growth in infrastructure, in human capital, social developments, and energy security. ADB has been one of our steadfast partners in our journey of transformation. As the Governor of the Kingdom of Bhutan to Asian Development Bank, I reaffirm our unwavering commitment to the shared development objectives. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the forecast for Bhutan's macroeconomic outlook for financial year 25-26 and the medium term is positive, with real GDP growth projected to strengthen from 7.5% to 8.6%, driven mainly by the industry and services. However, the economy has been affected by sharp fuel price shocks due to the Middle East conflict, which was partially mitigated by the adoption of National Fuel Price Smoothing Framework. Bhutan therefore seeks additional counter-cyclical support from Asian Development Bank beyond country allocations to cushion fiscal pressures, to protect vulnerable households, and sustain growth momentum. Bhutan is advancing Gyeongju Mindfulness City, GMC, envisioned by our King Jigme as a smart and sustainable economic gateway linking South Asia and Southeast Asia. Rooted in the philosophy of gross national happiness, GMC integrates mindful urbanization, ecological balance, cultural heritage and innovative living, governed by a special administrative region. It is designed to host green industries, wellness tourism, research hubs, and clean tech zones, promoting climate resilience, digital innovation, and regional integration. As a model of private sector-led transformation, GMC aims to catalyze green investments and trade while reinforcing sustainable development. Bhutan invites Asian Development Bank and the member countries to explore partnership and investment opportunities in this very visionary initiative. Bhutan aims to expand clean energy generation by an additional 20,000 megawatts by 2040, alongside investments in urban development, green skills, tourism, innovation, and a resilient health system. To achieve these ambitions, Bhutan's financing needs have increased significantly. Therefore, enhanced support from Asian Development Bank will be crucial in mobilizing concessional finance, attracting private investments, and providing technical expertise to bridge resource gaps and ensure sustainable and inclusive growth. In closing, Bhutan reaffirms our strong commitment to working with ADB and member countries to advance a more connected, resilient, and inclusive Asia and the Pacific. As we pursue our tenfold 21st century growth initiatives, Bhutan looks forward to continued partnership in strengthening connectivity across infrastructure, digital systems, markets, and people, while ensuring sustainable and climate-resilient development. Together, we can turn our challenges into shared prosperity and well-being for all. Thank you.
I thank the Governor for the Kingdom of Bhutan. I now call on the Governor for the Republic of Maldives.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, Your Excellency, Chair of the Board of Governors, President of the Asian Development Bank, fellow governors, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of the government and the people of the Republic of Maldives, I would like to express our sincere appreciation to the government and people of Uzbekistan for hosting the 59th annual meeting of the Asian Development Bank in the historic, beautiful city of Samarkand. We thank our gracious hosts for their warm hospitality and the excellent arrangements made for this important gathering. It is fitting that we meet here at the ancient crossroads of the Silk Road to advance our region's connected future as reflected in this year's theme, Crossroads of Progress, Advancing the Region's Connected Future. Distinguished governors, the challenges facing our region today call for careful reflection and collective action. Global uncertainty, geopolitical tensions, and climate-related shocks are increasingly overlapping, creating complex and compounding risks for developing economies, particularly for small island developing states such as the Maldives. The Maldives is a small, open nation that is highly integrated with the global economy. While this openness supports growth, it also heightens our exposure to external shocks. In this context, the Middle East holds strategic importance for the Maldives, reflecting long-standing economic and commercial linkages and its critical role as our primary source of energy. In addition, the Middle East is also an important transit hub for the travelers to the Maldives. Ongoing tensions in the Middle East have underscored the vulnerability of import-dependent economies. Volatility in energy markets and disruptions to supply chain have a direct impact on inflation, external balances, and the cost of living in the Maldives. These spillovers from high global fuel prices reinforce the importance of timely and well-coordinated international support to help vulnerable economies manage during global economic shocks. In this regard, we welcome the focus of this meeting on energy transition financing, which is directly relevant to the Maldives as we seek to reduce our dependence on imported fossil fuels and accelerate the shift towards cleaner, more sustainable energy sources. Building resilience also requires strong and dynamic private sector involvement. Private sector expansion is central to long-term economic growth and resilience. We therefore prioritize providing opportunities for small and medium-sized enterprises, which play a vital role in economic diversification, innovation, and inclusive growth. We encourage ADB to deepen its engagement with the private sector across the region by strengthening capital markets that can mobilize financing for the private sector. At the same time, investments in human capital development are crucial for the sustainable growth. The Maldives prioritizes strengthening education and skill development, particularly aligned with the hospitality and tourism sector, which continues to underpin our economy. The enhanced productivity of our workforce can ensure inclusive growth and improved standards of living. These economic priorities are being pursued alongside acute climate vulnerability. Rising sea levels, extreme weather events, and environmental pressures continue to pose existential long-term risk to livelihoods and infrastructure in the Maldives, while also amplifying the impact of external economic shocks. For countries such as ours, climate resilience is not a separate agenda. It is inseparable from macroeconomic stability and national survival. Digital connectivity is another area of importance for the Maldives. As a geographically dispersed archipelago, digital infrastructure plays a critical role in bridging distances, improving access to services, and enabling economic participation. We are encouraged by ADB's focus on the Asia-Pacific Digital Highway initiative and its ambition to connect communities across the region through secure and sustainable digital corridors. We look forward to greater support in this area for small island developing states. In this context, the Maldives values ADB's role as a responsive and forward-looking development partner. For vulnerable economies, the availability of flexible and shock-responsive instruments designed to be deployed rapidly when needed remains critical in managing periods of heightened uncertainty. We encourage the bank to continue ensuring that its tools, products, and process remain well-suited to the diverse and specific circumstances faced by its smallest and most vulnerable members. Excellencies, in closing, the Maldives remain committed to working closely with ADB and fellow member countries. Through continued cooperation, partnership, and shared resolve, we have strengthened resilience and support sustainable, inclusive progress across our region. Thank you, Chair.
I thank the Governor for the Republic of Maldives. I now call the Governor for the Cook Islands.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, President Kanda, Honourable Governors, ladies and gentlemen, kia ora to you all. The Cook Islands would like to acknowledge our generous hosts, Uzbekistan, and commend the ADB for its continued leadership and commitment to sustainable development across our region. The Cook Islands comes to this forum as a nano-market economy, facing unique structural constraints, including geographic remoteness, small population and market size, and a narrow economic base. These realities amplify our exposure to external shocks and create persistent challenges in delivering public services, infrastructure, and economic opportunities at scale. While our economy has grown strongly, driven by tourism, the current outlook remains uncertain. External pressures, including the current global conflicts, supply chain disruptions, and the ongoing energy crisis, continue to affect import-dependent economies such as ours, with implications for fiscal stability and long-term resilience. In this context, we welcome the ADB's emphasis on a differentiated approach under its Pacific approach. For our small island states, this is not just a principle, it is a necessity. We encourage the bank to continue advancing innovative financing instruments that are flexible, responsive to shocks, and aligned with country systems. These tools are essential to ensuring that support is fit for purpose and capable of delivering meaningful outcomes in small, vulnerable economies. The Cook Islands has identified practical and viable pathways to accelerate our transition to renewable energy and strengthen our energy resilience. We're interested in how the bank can support the scaling of these solutions through financing approaches that reduce upfront costs, crowd in private sector participation, and de-risk investments in small, remote markets. At the same time, we see merit in exploring new financial approaches, including the potential conversion of debt from foreign currency into domestic currency. For small economies with limited ability to hedge currency risk, foreign currency debt can create a significant fiscal vulnerability, particularly in times of external shocks, such as the current global energy crisis. Local currency financing, where feasible, would enhance stability, strengthen debt sustainability, and support more predictable economic management. We also commend the bank's work on critical minerals as a forward-looking initiative supporting the global energy transition. As this program evolves, we encourage consideration of how small island developing states with significant mineral resources of our own can be more actively included, ensuring a more inclusive and resilient regional approach. In that regard, we thank the ADB for the continued efforts to bolster support for small island developing states through increased concessional financing, technical assistance, and capacity building initiatives. In conclusion, the Cook Islands reaffirms its commitment to partnership and collaboration, and we call on the Asian Development Bank and our partners to continue advancing a truly differentiated approach, one that reflects the realities of small island economies and supports a resilient, sustainable, and prosperous future for all of our people. Thank you, Chairman.
I thank the Governor for Cook Islands. I now call on the Governor for the State of Israel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, President Kanda, fellow governors. First, thank you all for staying till the very end. And on behalf of the government of Israel, I would like to express our sincere gratitude to the government of Uzbekistan for their exceptional hospitality in Samarkand. We also thank the ADB management for the organization of another successful annual meeting. It is a privilege to gather here at this crossroads of progress to discuss the region's connected future. The ADB has shown remarkable agility in these times of uncertainty, especially in the SIDS and other vulnerable member countries. To ensure this momentum continues, we encourage a focus on two critical pillars. First, expanding the private sector. We strongly support the ADB strategy to catalyze private investments, creating a robust and enabling environment for private capital is key to meet the region's massive infrastructure and development needs. Second is securing critical infrastructure. As the region digitizes, cybersecurity for critical infrastructure must be a priority. It is essential to ensure that daily life can go forward and withstand the shocks the future may hold. Protecting our water, energy, and transport systems from digital threats is no longer optional. It is fundamental to national and regional security. As the region continues its digital transition, development approaches must evolve accordingly. Leveraging data and digital infrastructure has proven itself essential to accelerating development in both an ambitious and resilient way, while ensuring that growth is built on a stable foundation. In this context, Israel stands ready to support these efforts and share its experience in building resilience under resource-constrained conditions. To conclude, we remain optimistic. By combining private sector ingenuity with secure, data-driven strategies, the ADB will continue to be the steady hand that guides the region toward growth, resilience, and self-reliance. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I thank the Governor for Israel, and I would like to thank the governors for their remarks. All remarks will be included in the summary of proceedings that will be prepared by the Secretary. Before we close this session, I would like to call on the Secretary. Mr. Secretary, please.
Thank you, Chair. Please allow us to proceed on a brief ceremony. It has been our tradition to pass on the baton from the Chair to the Chair-elect. May I therefore request the Chair, the Governor of Uzbekistan, the Chair-elect, the Governor for Japan, and the ADB President to come forward for the baton passing and a photo. With your permission, Mr. Chair, and while the Chair-elect returns to her seat, I would like to invite everyone's attention to the screen for a short video. Thank you.
In Japan, life has evolved in harmony with the seasons, embracing change and cherishing balance. This enduring mindset has shaped our society. It's the origin of partnership, people coming together to build a shared future. For many decades, Japan has walked alongside the Asian Development Bank, hosting its annual meetings in milestone years. Each exchange, each conversation has shaped today's prosperity in Asia and the Pacific. And in 2027, the journey continues as we come together in Aichi, Nagoya. Aichi, Nagoya is a major city located in the heart of Japan. A welcoming city where people of all generations live joyfully. An urban city enriched by nature, protected by its citizens. For over half a century, Aichi has led Japan in the value of manufactured goods shipments. And the port of Nagoya, the nation's largest trading port, has long connected Japan with the world. With its diverse manufacturing industries, Aichi Nagoya continues to advance everyday life and open a path toward a sustainable future. Innovation is driven not only by technology, but by people. Global companies, startups, and diverse talents gather, forging partnerships, giving rise to new value and possibilities. The spirit of craftsmanship spans centuries, shaping a story of transformation. One of its expressions is karakuri, traditional Japanese mechanical dolls. Centuries ago, this land was home to the three samurai unifiers of Japan, who quietly looked beyond their time and faced the future without fear of change. Their spirit endured, passing down the courage to transform through generations. Sharing the spirit of forging partnership, driving transformation. We look forward to welcoming you to Aichi, Nagoya.
First of all, I would like to extend my sincere appreciation to the Chair Hojaev and the government of Uzbekistan for your year-long efforts and for the success of this annual meeting. Congratulations. And thank you. I am deeply honored to have been designated as the next chair of the Board of Governors of ADB. I am fully committed to doing my best to fulfill this role. It's a great honor for me to welcome you all next year for the milestone 60th annual meeting, together with Aichi Prefecture and City of Nagoya, home to world-leading manufacturing with rich history and culture. Nagoya enjoyed a deep friendship with Tashkent, based upon the Partnership City Agreement. Building on this strong partnership, I am confident that the achievement of this year's annual meeting will be carried forward to Aichi and Nagoya. Under the theme, for forging partnership, driving transformation, I am already excited to host the next annual meeting, which will set the important direction for the future of the region and ADB. Personally, as a politician, I have long been closely engaged in Aichi and Nagoya, supporting overall economy and automobile industry in the regions. Therefore, the annual meeting holds special significance for myself too, and I sincerely wish it every success. For those who cannot wait to visit Aichi and Nagoya, we have prepared an exhibition booth at this conference center where you can experience a taste of our culture and also Japanese sake, a rice wine, and hospitality. Also, the future host country event will be held the day after tomorrow on May 6th. We sincerely hope that many of you will join us. Thank you very, very much. Thank you.
I thank the Governor for Japan for her message. We wish you success in your preparation for the next annual meeting. Fellow Governors, esteemed attendees, I hereby declare this meeting concluded. Thank you. Thank you, President. Thank you.